Hello folks, and welcome back to the Sovereignty Masterclass. I hope everyone is doing very well. In this video, we're going to be covering what is dubbed as the Treasury pack, okay, the more advanced aspects of this journey. And I want to fill you in and kind of get you guys to follow along as I go through this process of the more advanced aspects, because such is this journey, right? And how rife it is with a lot of misinformation, a lot of agents out there, a lot of gatekeepers, that it's taken up to 3 years, for me to finally find the so-called remedy, okay, that's gonna gift us what we've been searching for, in regards to being able to access our accounts and discharge debt lawfully, and being able to access the securities that are traded in our name with having the necessary entities set up and the paperwork behind us, and utilizing, the UCC, which if we look around us as we've decoded under the UCC connection, we often come back to the same point in the circle, right? I started this journey out in the UCC, then I got misled with all the so-called agents and gatekeepers pulling me away from the UCC. However, learning all these different aspects of the quantum grammar, conditional acceptance, the postal road mechanics, etc. It all helps to formulate our holistic kind of knowledge which is needed in order to apply these more advanced processes. But coming all the way back to studying and actually looking at the environment of the legal system we're in, it's all governed by the UCC. Okay, and so utilizing the UCC correctly, and this is where this knowledge that I've come into is going to be gold dust for us moving forward. So I want to, start the process of relaying this information to you guys with what I'm doing and where I found this information as well, and the sources I'm using, so you guys can obviously delve into it and see where I'm getting this information from. So I think that's so important to give credit to these sources too, as to where I'm getting this information. I'm just not making it up myself, because like a lot of these processes, it's always been around. The remedy's always been here for us, but it's been hidden in books. And those people who do really find the true remedy, seldom you will find them on the public platform anymore once they have reached their ultimate goal of getting the Treasury card, having the necessary accounts set up with the brokerage firms such as Fidelity and the DTC, to possibly trust company in New York, and being able to access their securities and do the whole recoupment process and the whole private administrative process too, where we can actually start now acting as our own court, our own private bank, and go through the necessary procedures to do what they otherwise do to us. When we default on our debts, we can get them to do exactly the same when we have all of the right entities in play and the knowledge and the mechanisms of knowing how we can get them into default, and then go to the sheriff, go to the courts, get a certificate of default, either trade it and sell it on the markets with a broker and get dividend payouts, or actually go and get a writ for a sheriff to take possession of goods, and so we can start playing the game. And that's all this is. And you'll come to find that the courts, yes, there is a lot of disingenuity and misinformation, and they lead us astray when we kind of incarnate into this matrix, right? We have our memories blank slated, and it's all done by design in order to get us to go through their indoctrination camps that schools don't teach us these things, with the private banking, the laws, the taxes, money, the financial system, right, in order to just make us good little slaves and pledge us as surety for all the debt in the system. But for those who do find the way out, it is very liberating, and it is coded in the Bible. The Bible is a book of law, and it's all written and it's all hidden in plain sight, as we know. But like I said before, this remedy's always been around, because under universal law, they have to leave the remedy open for us, for those on the path to seek redemption. If not, it's treason. It will go against divine will, and there are huge repercussions for this. So as bad as it is, you look around the world, look at the world around us, slavery is voluntary. And so it's up to each and every one of us to come back to life, as Jesus did in the Bible, walking on water, right? What's that analogy of? Him walking on the maritime laws, his ability to transverse the maritime plane. Okay, and the Cain and Abel myth, what's that all about? Well, Cain killing Abel, or whichever way around it was, is telling us to kill the Strawman, liquidate your estate. It's what Patrick Levine's been doing, Gene Keating, and the guy I've been studying under, which is Peter Joseph Polinsky, who studied under Gene Keating and Patrick Levine, Walter Strout as well. These guys, these are the way showers who have left behind all of their documents and a few of their presentations and audio clips that you can get your hands on, then it's otherwise up to us to replicate. The process is just all the same. There might be a few different nuances in regards to every 20 years or so, they do change they come out with a new Black's Law dictionary. So they do move the goalposts a little bit, but it's near enough pretty much the same. And every 70 years they renew the bankruptcy right, but it's near enough the same. So it's up to us to, address these nuances, seek those individuals who have truly reached redemption. Don't get trapped and capped into these so-called gurus, right? Which I was trapped in. I could put my hand up honestly and say, like, I was trapped in a lot of these so-called gurus. But that's why I seeked one guru, followed his course through to the end, or her course through to the end, and knew that wasn't it. But it gave me a little piece of the puzzle. Then seeked another one until I finally got to, or resonated at that level of information and ready to come into this knowledge, this gnosis, right? This true remedy, in order for me to achieve what it is I want to achieve, and be blessed and guided to, the right sources. And the way I came into this information is nothing short of divine. Okay, but you must be ready within yourself in order to receive the gift of knowledge for you to then be able to walk the walk, as it were. Okay, it's all good talking the talk, but can you walk the walk? And unfortunately, a lot of these false gurus, as we'll go through in the notes, it will probably repeat itself. Repetition is the mother of learning, right? We'll see that anyone else who's not teaching the UCC and otherwise teaching, the jurisdiction under, which is Admiralty Maritime, which we know, which is otherwise disguised as statutory jurisdiction, which is otherwise directed via the Unijoy institution, who hold the copyright on the UCC, and the Unijoy Act of every member state who signs up to this under the International Private Law Institute or public policy that is practiced, is otherwise covertly governing these statutes and directing the Admiralty Maritime bankruptcy laws of all these member states. And so this is where our true remedy lies. And if you understand Admiralty, the laws of the seas, it's all about insurance. It's all about underwriting, insuring your vessel, which is why we're going to get into the indemnity bonds, right? And your set-off bond, okay, which is needed in order to discharge your debt. And this is why people are falling short when they're doing their recoupment processes too, which is what I've come to find out, is that they're not A, filling out all the right forms, but B, mainly, is that they haven't got all the right bonds in place and the right UCC filings in place and the states correction papers in place in order to access that right of ours as a being that's in control of their vessel, their strawman, okay? And it's all coded in the Bible, as you'll see. And obviously, go through and share everything with you guys, what I'm doing, and there's so much wisdom in the Bible that otherwise these guys are decoded, that's showing us the way of true redemption. For like the Israelites, I think they said to go and make brick without straw. Well, they're just telling you to go and do commerce without your straw man. And this is what, what I mean, we're being shown. That's what Jesus did, kicking the Jews out of the temple. I mean, yes, literally, but then also esoterically, is kicking the Babylonian system of whoring ourselves out in this commercial system, so it doesn't come in, so our bodies aren't pledged as surety for the collateral and the debt and pledged as a farm product and leaned upon and brought into the world of commerce. That's kicking that bullshit system out of our temple. Our temple's divine, right? And accepting the charge, not arguing or being belligerent and being controversial. So that's where the courts thrive, and that's where the attorneys come in. They thrive off controversy, as we know. So it's all about standing in honor, remembering who we are, and accepting the Christ, right? The whole idea of accepting the Christ is accepting the sacrifice that he paid. He was being willing to pay for all our sins. So when they passed the 1933 HGR 192, that's when they made our straw man, and that's when they said, hey, look, as a result of us taking away your ability to pay your debts in gold and silver, what we're going to do is give you an option to accept the charge and use your unlimited exemption once you've found your remedy of getting all the right procedures and paperwork in place and becoming a secured party creditor as an international creditor, to be able to access that remedy where we have vowed to discharge your debt dollar for dollar or wherever you are in the world. But you can only access that right once you've got the right things set up. Okay, so that's what they've gifted us, and that's what we must access, but we must remember who we are and get all the procedures in play first in order for that to happen. Okay, and that's accepting the Christ, accepting the sacrifice, saying, sure, show me the bill. And then you do acceptance for value, you've got your indemnity bond, you've got your set-off bond, you've got your Treasury card back. You are an international creditor. You are able to then access that remedy. that they give to us, whilst not being sucked in or being, seen to be deriving a benefit from their system while still staying protected, but being able to operate in it as a secured party creditor, as an executive beneficiary, as a treasurer, all these roles that we can take on, Postmaster General, Dockmaster General, okay, of our document contract vessels, and formulating our own trusts. All right, so don't get me wrong, guys, this is a lot of information to unpack, but we must start somewhere. Okay, this is advanced. Everything that came before in the course will help build the accretion levels for you to be able to come into this information, but I think anyone will be able to kind of jump straight in at this level, especially if it's broken down the way I'm going to break it down, to try and simplify and give you the speed steps. So this is taking me 2 months myself to go through, absorb all the information, start organizing what needs to be done, the processes, the kind of steps, and kind of mapping it in my mind as to, okay, going forward, once you get the Treasury pack sent out, what I need to do next. But we're just going to focus on step 1, okay, which is, for this video, introducing why, again, this process is the remedy, and how I've seen evidence of people doing secure transactions and acquiring boats, Bentleys, houses, actually having success in courts and discharging, large amounts of charges when using this method, and liquidating the estate, accessing what's called the unified tax credits, which is just basically the government, when you come back to life, saying, hey, look, I've come back to life, got all my necessary paperwork in order, which shows that I have the knowledge, I'm a sui juris, I can administer and manage my own estate, which is what every man should be doing on this planet. That is the man's role, is fulfilling the law. The women have got no right in commerce, or shouldn't be really learning the law, but yeah, more power to you girls for stepping up and taking responsibility for the family units. But it's up to the guy, right? It's up to the guy to do this and administer and fulfill the law, look after the family, whilst the woman surrenders and goes back into her true nature and nurture role as a divine feminine to raise the kids, so the kids don't end up becoming ward of the state and runs off, gets sent to the indoctrination camps where they just get brainwashed, and the woman's out in the workforce just being taxed, which makes more tax revenue for these international wanksters. So it's all about coming back to life, learning the process and administering this yourself, but taking it slow, being patient with yourself, and it'll just build on itself. Okay, so I'm going to try my best to break it all down and go through what I've done so far, so you can get up to my level, and then once the Treasury pack is sent in, it'll start making more sense what I'm talking about as we go through this. You'll start seeing how you can start making secure transactions, like I said, to acquiring property, accessing unified tax credits, and we can walk this walk together, and ultimately come into heaven on earth, and access what God had gifted us, which is in the last will and testament, right? Which is the fulfillment of the law. It's coming back to life and proving to the system that, hey, look, we know who we are. We accept the Christ. We accept the charge. We accept the responsibility of being an adult who is sui juris and competent to manage our own affairs and isn't distracted so much by the bread and circuses. Because like I said, all these characters, Patrick Devine, you guys probably heard of them before, Peter Polinsky, Winston Shrout, and Jim Keating. The remedy's always been there, guys, but it's hiding in books. But because many people don't want to read, it kind of often gets neglected, and people miss the boat. And they get trapped in the Facebook groups, the Telegram groups, the YouTube channels, like I did. And unbeknownst to a lot of them, they think what they're teaching is working, but seldom they can supply first-hand evidence. That's why my course was built on, as best as I can, things that I've actually done, and showing you the scanned papers and the results of me finding the remedy. Okay, and this is why, looking back with my surety bond, when I had that successful case of discharging 3 points of my license and a fine for not having insurance, it's just proven to me that it is this maritime amity system we're in of insurance and underwriting and bonds, because securities that replace substance as collateral for debt, that this was the solution. And being brought back to that point with how these guys are setting up their redemption, it makes so much sense. But it's just learning how to assign it properly, file it properly, and doing the right procedures and steps that are in place, and then just repeating what others are otherwise have done, and they're now living that good private life in full control of their assets, their property, their estate, okay, and their papers, without being leaned upon, persecuted, prosecuted, and can accept the charge. As long as you do no harm to other individuals or their property, you know, you'll be good as gold. Okay, so we're going to go through this. It's going to, I'm not going to rush this because it can't be rushed. You can't rush perfection. We're going to give ourselves like probably a few years, but we're going to work through this systematically. And you know, the whole idea of time is purely based on and birthed from commerce. Okay, this is what governs contracts, maturity of bonds, futures contracts. There's no need for time if there was no commerce. Again, this money system of exchange that we live in, right? It's nothing evil about commerce, but think of the Garden of Eden and these hierarchistic worlds where there is no money. There will be no need to kind of really track time as diligently as it is tracked, or incessantly as it is tracked in this day and age, which is all Saturn worship, which is why the guys who have the most success on this planet are the beings who are channeling and have mastered the virtues and vices of the sphere of Saturn. Okay, because Saturn governs money, banking, law, and finance. Okay, and discipline. All right, and time. Old man Chronos. Okay, so it's all about, and if you break down the etymology of calendar, it is for the reckoning of debts. Okay, so it's purely the whole Roman Gregorian calendar is based on the reckoning of debts and taxes. Okay, to tax your ass. And this is why we must, when we come out on the other side of this, we'll be able to release ourselves from the clutches of time and being pledged under the clock of securities and contracts in order to be released. Okay, from, because that stuff, you know, has very deep layers of interpretation for our subconscious scripts that are running, that instruct ourselves to also age. Okay, so this is deep when you really do truly come back to life. And you see in the Bible, I mean, we all know, those who studied Ashiana Dean's material, that we're all eternal beings, originally created up in density 2, had immortal bodies. Okay, but due to a lot of the fallout and warring and people losing touch of themselves and law of one, you know, we're down here. And so as a result, a lot of us are incarnated in here reluctantly to kind of, you know, trying to help heal these fallen systems, bring back the truth. But it's all up to us at the end of the day. There's no real external savior that's going to come out and save you. But there's certainly a lot of external individuals that we can look up to and follow in their footsteps and take inspiration from and motivation to go and get this done, because it has been done. Okay, I've seen the evidence, and you guys are going to see a lot of the evidence too in this presentation to hopefully give you that enthusiasm to, you know, get ready to conjure the energy in order to get this done for yourself and your family. Okay, so get comfortable, get a cup of tea, whatever, get your notepad out, and we'll dive straight into this. Okay, so you might hit caffeine as well before. Right, so this all the information I'm getting, right, was given to me on a thumbnail by an individual who knows who they are, and it was quite divine timing, really. But it's been circulating in the fields for a long time, because I remember last year, after studying Don Kalam stuff, there was a specific folder, right, called the Peter Lita package, and I looked at this folder and I was thinking, wow, right, this is very advanced. Okay, but it was just kind of literally the templates. And I remember I was backwards engineering the templates and reading through them. I was thinking, okay, whatever this guy's doing is very advanced. But however, I didn't have any supplemental material or like videos and classes in order to back it up. So for instance, you know, you look at all the examples of the filing, okay, with the UCC, and I was intrigued, and I knew what this guy was doing was very advanced, because he was not only doing the UCC-1, he was doing, like, you know, multiple UCC filings and UCC-3 filings. And I was thinking, wow, okay, so he's signing bonds, he's got the copyright on there too. I was thinking, okay, whatever this guy's doing, he definitely knows his stuff, right? So I got to that point, obviously, in my journey where I was like, right, I need to find out what this guy's doing. Okay, so I got given this thumbnail, and so within this thumbnail, which you guys are going to have access to on the Dropbox link, okay, which you'll see here, which is Treasury Pack Redemption. You're going to have all the books that are recommended that he reads, okay, and you're going to have the Treasury Pack templates, which is all the templates which are geared towards America, all right, because no matter where you are in the world, you're going to be finding this in Puerto Rico, okay, in order to get the first initial stages set up. Because Puerto Rico is an international trust. There's 2 international trusts. There's one in the Philippines. As you've seen with what was the document called? The Committee of 300 document, where the Queen signed the Certificate of Live Birth. We went through that, I think, in the introduction module of this course. You can see that it was in the Philippines where all these so-called presidents came together in order to sign off the renewal of the bankruptcy, I think it was, for the trust in the Philippines. And you've got another trust in Puerto Rico, which again is, basically a fiscal agent for the IMF. Okay, and the IMF is another fiscal agent for the Crown, which is otherwise the Rothschilds, which is based in the city of London, but then they're also another fiscal agent, and an exchequer or chamberlains and exchequers of the Treasury for the Vatican Treasury. Okay, so all roads lead back to Rome. If you remember the UCC connection, Unidroit is owned by the Vatican, the Holy See, and they otherwise are running, they own the copyright of this private international law, which is the UCC, which is running in every bankrupt nation currently implementing the system of statutory amity maritime jurisdiction. Okay, so if you're American, this is perfect. Okay, so what I've done with my package, me being a United Kingdom resident at the moment, born in Australia, this is why I've got 2 QSIP numbers. I've actually got 2 mutual funds, which are quite interesting. So the first one was obviously put into one, and then when I came to England and turned 18, my national insurance number was put into another mutual fund. That's why I've got 2 QSIPs. So it'll be interesting to see once I get my hands on that how much money's in, how much money I can get my hands on basically with those 2 funds. So probably double the amount of most people. Who knows? We'll see. But I've basically gone through each template, okay, and changed and geared it towards Australian laws, an international perspective as well, UK laws, and obviously the US laws, okay, because a lot of the business we'll be doing is going to be in the US when we get the EIN numbers, the entity set up, and actually using, the Puerto Rico and invoking some of the US codes in order to find a remedy, because what you'd find is it's all international anyway. You can't have the right to invoke those codes, but I've actually geared a lot of what you'd see, okay, in Pito Lita's templates, right? I've changed to international law, okay, for individuals who can otherwise, go in there and kind of just copy what I've done with the templates. Okay, as you can see here, Australian, national, etc. Whereas if you open up Peter Lita's example, you'll see the difference. Okay, but I will be quoting some of also the US codes. But again, as you stipulate in the beginning, you can also state that any mention of any US codes, the same would apply in any foreign bankrupt member state jurisdiction, or wherever you reside, or wherever you have an interest in, okay, doing business. And so this is why I'm coming in at an international level, which I think is so important, because that's where the creditors are. All these domestic bankrupt member states, they are bankrupt, they are debtors, they don't really have any power. So we must come at the international level, okay? And even, it's interesting watching Peter Lita's journey and all this, even coming into, once you get everything set up and you're privy as to the court procedures of private administrative procedure, right? You can then come in at the international level with tort claims in the international courts in order to find justice, and it's like 10 times as quicker than going through the domestic court system, especially in the US. But I guarantee it'll be the same no matter where you go. With this bureaucratic kind of bureaucracy we've got set up with this de facto system. So this is your homework, guys. Basically, okay, is to go through all of the templates and change them with your settings. Okay, so if you see PJP's example, for instance, he's got where you need to change and highlight what you need to change is highlighted, basically. Okay, then you'd want to pull up alongside this my template of the same, okay, which is in this pack, and then see how I've changed certain things in order to apply for wherever you are, and can sit and see what I've added to it or taken away from it. Okay, just put them up alongside, go through it, and because you will have free license to chop and change as well as a sovereign, that is your right, that's the authority that you should have at this time. Coming into these more advanced procedures, you must be able to sit there, read through the whole document, change everything to cater for your situation and your personal information, and add and subtract whatever you wish. Okay, so you've got full power. These document templates are templates, they have been used and are replicated and are working for people. However, like always, it's good to separate yourself from the rest of the crowd in terms of adding or subtracting whatever it feels best for you given your situation. Okay, like for me, for instance, I added my court of office seal, okay, my family estate seal, and then the plain simple English now time jurisdiction, just to state that for the record, on the records at the top left of the document. You're always going to fly your flag. These documents are vessels, right? Okay, and another thing as well is how we put our name in, right? Okay, so we put our name in with last name, first name, middle is our private name. Okay, and otherwise our debtor name is just all caps, first, middle, last. Okay, and this is something, again, we're going to be able to be adaptable, because when you look at the UCC registry and you put in filing notices, you'll see how they actually have the breakdown of a private person as compared to a nom de guerre person. Because their system doesn't recognize uppercase or lowercase, as soon as you put in your name lowercase and input it in their system, it comes up uppercase. What differentiates the living individual from the de facto dead corporate straw man is putting your last name first and then your first and middle. So last name, comma, first name, comma, middle name, comma. Okay, that's your living representation of your living being in their system. And then you have obviously the debtor corporate self is just first, middle, last, all caps, no commas. Okay, so little things like this, we'll just follow along, adapt. Up to you. Like I said, there are people that are still using the correct grammar with the facts, the full colon, etc. But just we're going to follow along here. Look at the system we're in. Look at the environment we're in. What waters are we swimming in? So UCC. Okay, look at how the UCC filing their system has people down as the sureties and people down as the secured parties. What's the difference? Okay, let's follow suit. Let's save confusion. You know, substance over form. Let our behavior match our assertions. Let's keep everything consistent. Okay. But never be afraid to change, you know, what you already know. But at the end of the day, feel into it and do what's right and what's best for you. Because a lot of the time, like I said, with these documents, when we get into the bonds, I'll do another video going through this. Okay, so the bonds are quite complicated and you're going to make sure that you do everything correctly. You'll see that with my success with my bond I did with the car insurance, it was otherwise very rudimentary and I didn't follow what is really technically required to turn something into a security and then lodge it on the UCC in order for it to be accepted, but they accepted it. Okay, because it just goes to show that you can, anything that's otherwise got your name, date, amount and signature on, they're going to turn that thing into a security regardless. Okay, regardless whether you've done it or not, it's going to be turned into security and a bill of exchange, and that is going to be recognized in their system as money of account. Okay, and that's why I was able to get out of having 3 points put on my license and a fine, because I had that lodged, and under silencer's acquiescence gave him 30 days to rebut. Otherwise, it was locked in law, and this is the law system we're in today. So we're just going to learn how to play it appropriately, right? And that's the key, and not succumb into the fear surrounding, oh my God, I'm gonna make sure everything's done right, or if you made a little mistake, don't worry about it. Errors and omissions are accepted. Okay, and I've proved that so time and time again with doing things imperfectly. Imperfect action is so important in this process, and just getting, you know, going forward, you can always come back and amend and correct things later. Okay, but the first step to success is just taking that first initial action, and it may be imperfect, but just do it. You know, there's so much wealth to be gleaned through experiencing getting things done. Okay, and you might come back and I might come into new knowledge in a few months' time and be like, oh, I mean, if I knew that, I would have done that differently. But c'est la vie, you're still getting the job done. It's just, you know, a matter of dotting the I's, crossing the T's, and not getting trapped into this kind of like deer in the headlights of perfectionism. Okay, just as long as it makes sense to you, you go through, check things through, everything's clear and plain, and you're following the templates and the instructions, you'll be good as gold. Okay, so I've got all of this here for you guys that we're going to go through systematically. The videos that you can access, I've otherwise got a playlist. Okay, so this is the Secure Party Creditor class from PJP, Peter Joseph Polinsky, who's a Series 10 brokers license holder. Okay, this guy is steaming ahead. He's gone private. You're going to be able to get in touch with him because he is living that private life. And trading securities, accessing, you know, the securities that are trading in our name, which is holding all our wealth and assets. and helping people along the way. And he served his purpose in his journey at the time, back in 2018, 2019, to get all these processes done and learn from the likes of Gene Keating and Patrick Devine. So I'm going to leave this here for you guys. If those of you want to go through this and see where I've got all this information from, you can work through. But otherwise, you know, what I've done is gone through it all, got all the templates and information in place, okay, and basically put it all together for you guys as, you know, organized as I possibly can, giving you direction, okay, when doing so, with all the notes that I've compiled, which again you'll have access to, which is the Peter Lita notes, okay, which is 33 pages. It's quite fitting, 33. And otherwise, what a lot of the processes are explained are in this Redemption Manual 4.5 edition, okay, which I highly recommend you go and read, which you're going to actually read a few notes in a minute, which is just going to kind of back the reason why we need to do the UCC, okay, so, you know, painting that context, giving the backdrop as to why it's so important in order to utilize the UCC, give the reasoning as to why, and then from there it should be pretty self-evident that, okay, no matter what all these false gurus out there are saying about the UCC, yes, it is copywritten, but it is our own remedy, okay, and just see what these guys are doing. Look at the paperwork, look at the proof, which I'll just show you quickly, some of the stuff that these guys are getting up to, okay, with secure transactions. Once all of this is set up, okay, once their accounts are charged, they're able to then go through and acquire Bentleys, RVs, they're writing checks, and no one ever think about negative checks, write negative checks, because you've got to balance the books on both sides of the ledger. You can't send in a positive amount of debt, a positive, you know what I mean? When you send in a debt plus a debt, it just creates more debt. You must cancel it out by sending in like negative checks and things like this. Okay, so this is proof, this guy's done it, minus $291,000 with the proper procedures and all the forms. You know, the 1041V, the 1041, the 1041 is because we're a foreign estate. Once you get your EINs and you set up the 82 estate and then your 98 granted, foreign grantors trust, we're operating as foreign international creditors. And we're using that to access our pass-through account, which is our social security number or national insurance number, okay, which we ultimately liquidate and go through a probate process and get a letter of testamentary, right? And they fill out form 966. But you fill out, you go through, there's so many more forms that otherwise aren't, you know, told to us by these other gurus, and all the information you can get online that's vetted by the FBI. Because they don't want us finding the remedy. They're going to leave it out that easy for us to find the remedy. Then, you know, if you want to access heaven on earth, you got to do the work. It takes time and effort in order to prove your worth. Once you reach the gates, you know, and claim back what is rightfully yours, you've got to be competent in all this stuff. 1040 is otherwise a tribute to Britain, as he refers to. 1041 is the foreign, filling out a foreign tax return. I mean, you don't have to do it, but, you know, it's a process that needs to be done in order to balance the books and access your UCC contract trust account and make secure transactions. But you can only make secure transactions once you have your initial Treasury pack sent in with your indemnity bond, which basically insures your vessel and commerce. You can actually use this for medical insurance as well as house insurance or any type of insurance, vehicle insurance. And you need a set-off bond, okay, which basically charges your UCC contract trust, your CETIK trust, your national insurance, social security trust, which is like a deposit on a credit card, which a debit card, which then allows you to discharge and order the Treasury to pay for your debts like they pledged. Okay, then from there, filling out all the necessary paperwork as a secure party creditor. You can access and order them to pay for all these goods and doing the correct UCC-1 filings, UCC-3 bill of exchange. You've got a bill of exchange that goes in as well, international bill of exchange. And this is all done under UNCITRAL, you know, I think it's the UNCITRAL Convention on Universal Bills of Exchange and Promissory Notes, and following the procedures at an international creditor level in order to access the funds via the Treasury through your corrected status on the correct forms and processes and procedures. Okay, and so, you know, the proof is there. I've seen it. You go through the videos, you can see it for yourself. And the TDA accounts, you know, it shows you example checks, you know, to write the checks in to access. Again, we'll be going through all of this, I'm going to be decoding all of this and putting it together for you guys, which is going to save you so much time, trust me. We've got all the books he recommends here of the UCC, which are really good. Like I said, for this, after this module, highly recommend reading the 4.5 redemption manual, okay, how to properly accept for value. And there's different levels to it, like Patrick Devine's work, he's another level above this, okay, so you're going to start somewhere. EINs, okay, all the forms that are needed. All right, so we're going to be working through all of this. It's going to take some time, but you know, just be patient with yourself. We've got the process here. Like I said, I broke it all down. This will be in the Dropbox for you guys, so you can actually see the process. And ultimately, what we'll be getting done and getting to put together is, if I can get it up, table of contents. Okay, 2 secs. What to do, let's have a look. Maybe this one, the process. No, okay. Bankers acceptance subpacks. Okay, so it's in this one, I think. So all the instructions are there for you, okay? But like I said, I'll break down exactly what I'm doing. So we'll be doing a UCC-1, non-UCC, power of attorney. They're all non-UCC finance, right? Because that's a secret maritime lien for 30 years, unless you're doing a secured transaction, which will make it an agricultural lien, okay, which is a 5-year lien, basically. Power of attorney, UCC-3, assignment of the common law copyright, hold harmless indemnity agreement, getting your IRS Form 56 done, non-negotiable bill of exchange, IRS Form 1040 ES, birth certificate bond cover letter, private registered bond for set off, certificate of birth, IRS Form 1041V, certified copy of authenticated birth certificate, private registered indemnity bond, UCC-3 bond assignment, which the bonds are registered and all set up, claimant notification, reservation of rights, peaceful inhabitant, secured party and creditor, foreign status, IRS Form W8, notice of intent fee schedule, claimant of tax exempt foreign status, declaration of executor or executrix if you're female, notice of appointment to the office of executor or executrix, notice of absolute forgiveness, IRS Form 8832, which is redefining your entity for your EIN, and standard form 28, claimant proof of life, certificate of trust. Boom. Okay, and that all goes into a pack, which will look like this. So you're going to get it properly binded, okay, in paperback fashion using adhesive glue, because it's an adhesive contract you're sending in to these guys. Once that's sent in, it takes 90 days for the bonds to mature. Once they cure and mature, you should receive back a Treasury card, which is basically then an indication that you can now go through the procedures of the proper recoupment process to access unified tax credits, which claim to be up to the value of 9 million a year in order to administer your estate. Do your secure transactions and go through the private administrative procedure where you can start reaping dividends for certificates of default, where you get these guys in default, which is otherwise what they're doing to us, or you know, going to court, getting writs for the sheriff to go and collect possessions, and accessing this whole world of courts, system, banking, sheriffs, collections that otherwise doing to us, which is all just insurance at the end of the day. It's just going after the insurance most of the time and getting a payout on that, okay? And that's every right of ours to be able to do and administer ourselves once we get everything set up. Okay, so once the package is done and sent out, we're going to be then focusing on the more advanced aspects of trust management and going through that, which I'll be sharing with you guys. So that's very important, because we must be seen to be acting as the right roles in these different trusts that we got set up, with the 82 EIN and the 98 Foreign Grantable Trust, and how that applies to you based on where you are in the world. And because they always look at substance over form, and behavior must match your assertions, meaning, are you following what is in that trust indenture? Are you seen to be acting as a foreign CITES trust, okay? Or are you commingling? You know, are you doing all these other things that are otherwise in breach of trust, okay, where they can then, you know, penalize you basically in their courts and start dismantling, you know, what it is you're getting done or have set up, okay? So that should be enough invitation to treat and get the juices flowing, right? Like I said, you got access to all of this in the Dropbox link. In this presentation, we're just going to go through some notes now. Okay, this is the redemption manual. Like I said, a lot of the process, right? I highly recommend reading this because it breaks down perfectly the history of what's been going on, especially in America, but you know, prior to which with the City of London, the Crown, the Rothschilds, the European banksters, Illuminati, how America was founded in 1776 by the Italian Freemasons, who call themselves Illuminati then, and that was the birth of America, and everything that's gone on, and breaking down the esoteric meaning and allegories behind Wizard of Oz, which I think is the best breakdown I've read. So I know there's a lot of articles on this online, but it was just perfect. And the Matrix, the 3 Matrix movies, and how that applies to the legal system and us and our journey as Neo, what it is we need to do, going up against Saturn, which is Agent Smith in this system, to seek redemption. And it's got lots of beautiful wisdom. I think it's definitely written by an ex-judge, similar to like the Judge Dale documents, just leaving everything out to dry, basically, with sharing the truth, which I highly recommend going through in your own time. But if you get towards the bottom here, I think it's around 290. Here we go. Becoming a secure party creditor. It goes into the reason why we need to file UCC. UCC-1. It's better to have it done and not need it than to have not filed it. Okay, so it's why the UCC filing. Okay, so if you're looking for the reason why we're going to be utilizing the UCC, look into this PDF manual and read. And it basically explains the process. And although it's elementary, okay, so it only explains the basic process of just doing the initial filing, getting your bonds in order, assigning them, and then obviously just doing your hold harmless indemnity agreement, power of attorney, in fact, any common law copyright. With Peter Lita's pack, it's more advanced, okay, but this is the core of where these guys are finding their remedy. And a lot of people who are stuck in prison in America otherwise go through this book, and it's got all the templates there. You see the security agreement's the same too. It's got all the templates there that people otherwise go through when they're in prison, and they can print out and fill out on their own with a pen and redeem themselves out of prison, because it literally is the remedy. Becoming a secure party creditor, you're no longer surety for the strawman. You've removed that yoke. You've killed Abel, that part of you that is in the Babylonian system of commerce, whoring yourself out for pennies on the dollar, right? When in reality, they're making so much money off of you. You've got a treasure trove of credits just waiting. We're unlimited. We have the ability to draw up unlimited credit using our signature, because we're unlimited. We're eternal souls. We're eternal beings. We've got unlimited capability of creating things of value in the commercial world for our brothers and sisters. And that's the mindset you have to switch into when coming into this remedy, that yes, okay, great, you're going to be given the keys to the kingdom in order to come into unlocking your treasure trove in heaven on earth, right? But what are you going to be using these credits for? They're going to be looking into that, your soul. You're going to be using it to help out a fellow man. Okay, granted, yes, treat yourself, enjoy life, go traveling, do all these things, but ultimately, when you have this power and realize you can make a difference, you're going to be doing it for good, okay? I don't want anyone on this path and this journey doing it for service to self and just greedy gain. Like these guys, unfortunately, who are in power are doing exactly that, because they've been so detached from what it means to be part of humanity and helping out your fellow brother and sister. Okay, so that's so important to be doing this with the highest intent in mind and in your heart, to want to really change the world for the better and help out other people and individuals based on your unique gifts and talents to create projects to better humanity. And that's what I want to see off the back of this when we go through this ourselves and all become international creditors and start funding projects that will help aid in addressing some of the problems here on earth. For me, it's education. Educating kids at a young age of everything they've otherwise taken out of the curriculum to do with money, banking, health, wealth. So health and wealth, basically, the two most important things in spirituality, esoteric teachings, trying to tap into unlocking their true soul purpose in this life, rather than getting flung into the system, born, and then all of a sudden just raised by the same old matrix program, subconscious scripts, where you're just being brainwashed and assigned your lot in life, and then you just harvested from cradle to grave. That's bullshit. That's not life. That's being a slave. And then God knows how many lifetimes that just repeats. When you just reincarnated it, bang, time after time after time, memories wiped, bang, you're back in a baby's body, bang, 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 until one lifetime that happens to you where you wake up. Yeah, and so this PDF anyway goes through all the birth acceptance of value, the whole process. It literally breaks down the whole process of what it is we're going to be doing. We're not going to go through all the things in later presentations as to what to do. Okay, I'm going to do the UCC-1 filing, and going through all the other documents and how to order it and what I'm doing. It basically explains it. Okay, so there's plenty of material in the meantime to get you guys up to speed and see the process of what's going on and what's happening. Okay, which a lot of the basic stuff is from this book, and you can see UCC-3 talks about it, and it's very educational. See what you do with the birth certificate, the 1040 ES vouchers. Okay, it explains it all. This is why when you go into the folder, right?
I'm gonna have to hire like an IT guy.
When you go into the folder, which is shared with you guys, 2 seconds. With the process, okay, you go in here, the process, pack instructions, you'll see it. It all lines up. Okay, and it's even got the stamps that showing you how, you sign the stamp, once you get 83 or 82 estate EIN or equivalent. This is where you're going to be acting as now, because you're basically relinquishing your social security number or national insurance number, but you're still going to be there as a pass-through account, but you're not going to be identifying with it. You're going to be otherwise dissolving it into the 83. It's like PJ says, they basically set up the SETI K Trust back in 1666. Then in 1933, they created the Strawman, and they put the Strawman into the SETI K Trust. Okay, and they had to do this. All these are foreign to the so-called corporate forums and jurisdictions, okay, in order to make sure they're not committing treason and have it governed by all these foreign entities and these fiscal agents like the IMF. That's why the Treasury's in Puerto Rico. You've got another trust set up in Philippines, so they're not committing treason on the people. So it's otherwise they're all private foreign corporations. So that's what they did. Set up the SETI K Trust, 1933. The Strawman, put the Strawman in the SETI K Trust. So what you're doing is basically pulling the Strawman out of the SETI K Trust, assigning it to the 82 EIN, and having the 82 EIN inside of your own foreign CITES trust, which is going to be similar to your own SETI K Trust. And then that way you've got direct access. Then when you open up the bank accounts in the 82 estate EIN, as the executive beneficiary, you fill out the form 56F to make them the trustee. Okay, so you bind them as fiduciary trustees, and you can start executing your trust as the executor of your 9(8) foreign grantor trust, if I'm not mistaken, if this is right, to then use the 82 to get access to all the brokerage accounts, the brokers, the securities that are trading in your name, in all these processes to unlock your recoupments, your secure transactions, unified tax credits, and the wealth that is owed to you. Okay, so just in a nutshell, this is all here to prime you, right, to marinate you, but slap on the marinade so you guys can start, absorbing it and kind of getting it into that psyche and really feeling into it. And as these presentations, as we go through, as you go through all the extra information in your own time, it will begin to build on itself and start making a lot of sense. Okay, and so don't want to get ahead of ourselves, but once you do get the pack done and kind of itemized and in your head as to why we're doing what we're doing, and getting everything, all the information filled out correctly, making sure you got it all set up, immaculate, sent out, copy for yourself, etc. Notify all the right agencies. Then we can start focusing on learning about the more advanced aspects of the private administrative procedure, which is what he goes into here. Look, notice of default, curing, etc. Procedures for dealing with a presentment, and then so we can start actually prosecuting these guys that are coming after us and getting remedy. True remedy. So I know a lot of us have been stuck in terms of how can we go after these guys that are kind of going after us? We don't really want to go after them unless they really have done a heinous act towards you. But just go after their insurance and you get a payout, then happy days. You've made money, they've made money, everyone's happy. That's all it is. At the end of the day, it's just money. That's all they're looking for. So for you to accept the charge, act honourably, and use your limited exemption once everything is set up, right? And that's the key, that's the secret. Okay, so let's get into these notes anyway. So we'll go to the redemption manual, and this is basically what you see here. So I've just basically, for those you want a quick skim through, I've otherwise put together, as I always do, which helps aid me in my learning, I go through and read whole books, I print them out, get them, you know, binded properly from a printing company, and I go through with a highlighter and just highlight all the things that I think are really, you know, good points. And then I go through that and type it all out on the computer, the points that I think are, you know, pretty salient. And then I go obviously print it off and then read through it and keep reading through it. And this is the process of, you know, assimilating knowledge. This is how I work. And they say, you know, repetition is the mother of learning. I think for everyone, these kind of procedures will help, you know, and also records. I've got audio recordings of, again, salient points in the YouTube clips of PJP, which again, I'll just show you guys real quick. You have access to timestamps, okay, of the videos, which I'll share the playlist with. Under this video, you have a link to the actual playlist, which is here, right? That you can go through in your own time for your benefit. Timestamps. So, you know, for instance, in the first video, you know, around 2 hours, 1 minute, it talks about courts. 1 hour in the video 3 is going through the W8 Ben. Okay, so this is all going to help you guys. Form 56, 1 hour after that, Form 8832, UCC filing, video 5, okay, private administrative process. So this is, you know, it all helps just speed things up for you guys. But this is how I work. This is how I'm able to learn what I learn quickly and then turn it around and just, you know, give myself a few weeks. I read these sheets like before going to bed and first thing in the morning when waking up, and then maybe like one more time in the afternoon or whatever, and just keep it on repeat, just keep sinking it in. And this is otherwise rinse and repeat process that we're all going to have to learn. And then, you know, within a few months you're going to become a master. It's going to be second nature. It's like anything new, as we know, when like driving a car, right, the first initial like few months is harrowing. It requires so much energy. It's the law of facilitation. So much energy to form these new neural pathways. But then once after like 6 months, you're driving one hand on the wheel, you got the other hand out the window, you know, you're smoking, you're doing whatever, you're texting, which you shouldn't really be doing, but it's second nature. So this is no different, guys. I know, you know, it's like flogging a dead horse, but I think it's really important. So redemption manual, salient notes. I'm going to let you guys read through this in your own time. Okay, but I'm just going to go over, I think, more towards the end of these notes when it's kind of emphasising the importance of the UCC. As it says here, the actual reclaiming of your sovereignty, the remedy in today's bankrupt commercial world, is a process including UCC-1 form to the Secretary of the State and a chargeback invoice with bill of exchange to the Secretary of the Treasury, wherein you can take commercial control of your strawman and charge up your UCC contract trust account so that you can discharge the debt of your debtor. All right. And it says here, the blue pill represents amity, the red pill, the blood of Christ and the truth. Okay, that's what, you know, Neo is given in the Matrix, and it, like I said, read through it. It breaks down the Matrix perfectly, given the situation we find ourselves in, right, with this commercial system. In commerce, truth is sovereign, and therefore the sovereign always deals in the truth in commerce. Okay, for evil to prevail, good men do nothing. A man is king in his own castle, and this is what we're going to become: kings and queens, kings and priests. All right, once we get this knowledge and we go everything in play and we're carrying the knowledge and implementing it. Okay, all that government does and provides legitimately is in pursuit of its duty to provide protection for private rights, which duty is a debt owed to its creator, which is we, the people. All right, it's interesting here, May 1st, known as May Day, the birthday of communism in Bavaria in 1776, the birthday of the IRS, and celebrated worldwide as the International Workers' Holiday, a holy day to the wizard and his tribe. Okay, so yeah, it's packed full of pearls of wisdom. Time is a commercial entity. That's what we mentioned before. When there is no commerce involved, time is irrelevant. In the Tom Hanks movie Castaway, when Tom Hanks was on the island, time was irrelevant. There were no commercial contracts or terms to implement in which time was a factor. Time in the Garden of Eden was also irrelevant. So there you go. You've got the Merovingian, Egypt, Assyria, Babylon, the Medes and Persians, Greece and Rome. Each new empire was established and overthrown in history in order to perfect commerce. Each succeeding empire became more efficient in its quest for commercial profits, earnings, taxation and control. Rinse and repeat. Every 70 years they renew the bankruptcy. Why did they bring down the Twin Towers? Because remember, they declared bankruptcy around 1932, 1933. 70 years from that point, it was what, 2001, 2002? Okay, so there was an opportunity there, and they were going to end the bankruptcy. An hour, if the Twin Towers did not go down, an hour after that, they were going to change the whole monetary system back to substance-backed money rather than securities. So gold and silver. They're going to bring everything back to common law, contracts. All right? But the international banks had other ideas. And so they brought those towers down. What is the towers? World Trade Center. What do you have in New York? The United Nations. What else do you have in New York? The DTC. What's the DTC? Depository Trust Corporation. It's a pass-through trust for all securities on earth from all over these bankrupt nations, pledging every farm product vessel that comes in through the birth canal of the female uterus as their property. And that's where it goes to get traded and then dished out into the necessary funds, mutual funds, municipal funds, stock exchanges, futures contracts. Then there's insurance taken out on it, indemnified, underwritten, right? And then what else you got in New York? Bloomberg. This is one of the major terminals that are used in order to access these securities for these brokers. It costs like £26,000 a year. New York is the new Babylon. That's why you also have the Morningstar Trust there. And there's so much occult symbolism with the Statue of Liberty, which is otherwise just Lucifer in this feminine form. With this system of commerce we're in, Babylonian system, whoring ourselves out under the mercurial nature of Thoth, which is otherwise Lucifer, which is otherwise Hermes, which is the god of commerce. Okay, so we must master the Luciferian forces that are at play, as well as the satanic forces at play too, the trickster and the mass oppressor, the greater malefic and the trickster. So it's easy when you break it down. When you follow the truth and break it down, it's easy. You know, we're out of the web. We've come into the truth now. But these are the kind of hidden, esoteric, subconscious forces we're up against, which are otherwise, you know, animating many beings on this planet, flesh and blood, such as the rise of the Antichrist consciousness compared to the rise of the Christ consciousness. It's playing through many individuals. Okay, it's embodied in many individuals, both the dark and the light. Okay, as I know most of you here are of the light, of the Christic ways, and that's great. That's what we're here to do, is bring back the light, conquer these hidden forces that operate in the darkness, because that's how they get things done. They can only get a way of doing this through our ignorance. Like I said, in order for evil to prevail, good men do nothing. Okay, it's about time we step into our rightful roles, especially as the men here on this planet, and claim back our rightful dominion of divine masculines. Let me just play this clip to you, because this really needs to be driven home, right? Because this shit has been going on for too long, and it's about time that, you know, especially the men here on this planet, really pucker up and, you know, strap up and wake up and come back into our true roles and take responsibility. In order to protect the divine feminine and the family unit. So just watch this. This is the perfect allegory, right, in the Lion King movie. Everyone's familiar with this, of coming to remember who we truly are. Who's Jesus in the Bible? It's each and every one of us that's on this journey, especially for the men, to come back and to remember who you are, the power you have. Who are you the son of? God. You know, not this fucking bankrupt charter where the government's become our fucking father because they declared us bastard, because the woman's operating in a femsole capacity, because the man has neglected the security when he made that deposit in the womb. 9 months later it gets released and the state come along because the man doesn't know how to administer the estate and is mocking us and acquiring the asset and considering it abandoned after 7 years, right? Which again is another bankruptcy law where your child is declared dead and lost at sea, and they end up becoming the father in the family under a femsole capacity. Look up femsole and what that means. And so it's about time that they're rubbing it in the men's faces here. And I get it, yes, you know, they've tricked us, they're working tirelessly in order to subdue us, suppress us, fucking pumping estrogen in the air with, you know, chemtrails, poisoning our food, our water supply, But enough's enough. You know, once you become awake and aware of what's going on, you can reverse any trick that's being done. It's like any magician, right? Once you realize what they're doing in the sleight of hand, you can't be tricked anymore. Same as this. Once we come into our power, we've got all the information now to come back into our power. You utilize the power of the pen in order to peacefully fulfill the law, but with empowerment and remembering who we are and what we've come here to do, and to step into our manhood. Because there's a lot of children on both sides, the feminines and the masculines, who are otherwise stuck in this child archetype, child stuck in adult bodies. It's about time we fucking snap out of this and take back control. And I know, you know, Peter J. Polinsky, Patrick Devine, that's why when you listen to Patrick Devine, right, he can come across as quite arrogant, but that's his frustration, because he knows how much potential, you know, us men have, but we're being heavily suppressed, and we're succumbing to all these fucking programs, MK Ultra programs, in order to, you know, keep us off the path, right? So this is so important to just fucking snap out of it, snap out of our amnesiac, a dead debtor, sleepy selves, and come back to life as an international creditor, fulfilling the law. It's what Jesus said. You know, so every single man on this path is here to do, who wakes up. So watch this. If this does not invoke a deep energy within you to want to spur change, and this is exactly the story. If you look at most of these movies, it's just telling us how to come back to being our own fucking saviors. Come back to life. Remember who you are, your power. Everyone here is born equally. You have the same amount of capacity to be able to do what these international banks are otherwise doing, which is all about taking the time, dedicating yourself. Okay, Neo in the Matrix, we're all Neo in the Matrix, we're all Simba in the Lion King, coming back to life, going up against Scar. Who's Scar? Satan, Saturn, these satanic forces that are trying to suppress us and trick us, devalue us. But as soon as Simba realizes who he is, as soon as we realize who we are, there's no stopping us, honestly. So watch this. So bring back that lion energy in us, okay, that's been heavily suppressed. And likewise for the feminines on this path as well. You know, kudos to you. More power to you girls to, you know, step up and take responsibility, to take control of the family estate, and protect your children. So that's what they're going after, and that's what's repeating this perpetual cycle of servitude and dumbed downness and dumbfoundedness, and, you know, one born every. It's the saying, isn't it? There's a sucker born every second. That's what we need to stop and prevent, and start reshaping from the family units. The most divine structure outside of the creator itself and all of creation is the family unit, okay? And that's what we need to otherwise invoke in us, especially the men. The men are the protectors. We should be the ones fulfilling the law, learning the law, executing the law, and any injustice that is brought against our family and our communities. So this is why most of the scriptures are great. So telling us exactly who we are, what we need to remember, and how much power we do have that's hidden inside every single one of us. It's just, you know, flicking the switch, shifting focus, and being disciplined and sacrificing. You know, learning to say no, as Neo did in the Matrix, right? And this is why I share all these things in the course as well, because it has power. They're telling us about ourselves and our journey, right? And I'll play this and I'll go through the notes. I know it's kind of detouring a little bit, but it's so important to capture the spirit of what we're doing, the essence of what we're doing, why it's so important to have this spirit and embodiment and realize why we're doing what we're doing, because we're going to help raise this consciousness and spirit back into the planet that has fallen, bringing heaven on earth, heaven into hell. And we're going to help shift this whole world individually, as a collective, as a decentralized unit, right? Think of starfish and the spider. Get away from this centralized spider-like structure to a more decentralized, self-governing, sovereign system of individuals operating in the private, doing business out of trusts, and with money, contracts backed by money, real money, gold and silver. Okay, which is what the whole John Wick series is about. It's all about these private contracts. That is another good decode, the John Wick series. Okay, but this is it. Again, I'll just play this. The ability to, you know, learn what we learn, know what we know, and just say, no, enough's enough. You know, coming into this ultimate knowledge now, we're gonna have so much power, trust me. This is it, this is the advance, this is gonna give you redemption, true redemption. I can see it, you know, there's no arguing against it. You know, I think the door at the beginning is 303, which is 33, if you look on the door. You can't see it there, but I'm pretty sure it's 303, right? Which is otherwise indicative of reaching enlightenment, okay, when the fleshly body has been killed and the man or woman has been rebirthed again into their spirit body. Okay, because you've got 33 vertebrae in the spine. This is the raising of the chrism. Golgotha, the place of the skulls where Jesus gets crucified. It's where we are resurrected. Okay, and this is where we come back to life and come back into our true power and divinity, remembering who we are. Okay, shedding that fleshly, animalistic consciousness and body and bringing the spirit, our divine spirit, back into being rebirthed again, which is indicative of Neo finding this power. And how does that happen? Through the Trinity. Who's Trinity? His love. So otherwise, his guardian angel, God, which is love, pure unconditional love. So these films are so beautiful, the hidden allegories. And this is why I said, you know, really go, if you haven't watched the Matrix series, watch them through 1 to 4, 1 to 3 especially, and then read what this beautiful author says about the whole Matrix series in decoding how it applies to us with this legal system on Earth and what responsibility every single one of us should be taking at this time. And the power that is now gifted to us through this knowledge. You can't become like Neo in the Matrix.
Check him. He's gone. Goodbye, Mr. Anderson.
So you see, you can't be dead. You can't be. Because I love you. You hear me? I love you. Now get up.
He is the one.
See, seeing the code is just indicative of activating your higher awareness, okay, and seeing all these hidden symbolisms imbued in the movies, the TVs, the songs, the adverts, the world, the hologram around you. Okay, that's all it's an allegory for. Us waking up, finally, activating our higher DNA strands. So there we have it. You know, any guy watching that, if it doesn't invoke that kind of like lion energy in you, you know, to want to really come back into your power with what's been done to us, then, you know, this ain't for you. You know, I don't know why you're even here listening to this, because I know this will only attract, you know, wannabe kings, true kings that want to step into their power, right? As Neo did. And likewise the women, you know, step into your power, divine goddess. You know, these felines in the Lion Kingdom, if you look at them, they're very fierce. You know, the lionesses, they do a lot of work for the family unit, so in the tribe, right, the pride. So, you know, that is to be respected too. You're going to work together, protect the family. Like I said, the most divine structure outside of the creator, and the creation itself is our family unit. So, yeah, you get the picture, guys. Anyway, right, let's get into the nitty gritty of going through these notes again, and just again imbuing the importance and reason why the UCC is our answer. So it says here, scripture says that to live, the spiritual man must kill the fleshly man, as we saw in the Neo film. Jesus, the resurrection, Cain and Abel, you know, it's all pretty self-evident. Money is the evidence of transfer of energy. They're robbing us of our energy through what they've set up, as we know. Seek ye first the kingdom, which is to find your own inheritance that was created at your birth, and thereby all other needs shall be taken care of. Okay, there is a maxim of law that says the money of the sovereign is his credit. He is the wealth which no substance on earth can establish a value for. Okay, so just remembering who we are. Consequently, says here, in the interest of future world order, peace and tranquility, it was decided to privately wage a quiet war against the American public, the world in general, with an ultimate objective of permanently shifting the natural and social energy, which is the wealth of the undisciplined and irresponsible many, into the hands of the self-disciplined, responsible and worthy few. Okay, that's taken out of Secret Weapons for Quiet Wars. I know a lot of you guys have probably seen or read that document, which really gives you an insight as to how sick these individuals are, right? Which we'll just read through. In order to achieve a totally predictable economy, the lower class elements of the society must be brought under control, must be housebroken. Again, all starts in the house, the family unit. Trained and assigned a yoke and long-term social studies from a very early age before they have an opportunity to question the propriety of the matter. In order to achieve such conformity, the lower class family unit must be disintegrated by a process of increasing preoccupation of the parents and the establishment of government-operated daycare centres for the occupationally orphaned children. The quality of education given to the lower class must be of the poorest sort, so that the mote of ignorance isolating the inferior class from the superior class is and remains incomprehensible to the inferior class. With such an initial handicap, even bright lower class individuals have little, if any, hope of extricating themselves from their assigned lot in life. This form of slavery is essential to maintaining some measure of social order, peace, and tranquility for the ruling upper class. Fuck that, you know what I mean? We're not going to be part of that at all. And this is why the power of the no. Because one here said no, you know, enough's enough. That's each and every one of us has to step up, but do it honourably and peaceably, okay, through the use of the pen. The price of ignorance is far greater than the cost of an education. All right, the Columbia faction is quite interesting. An Italian organisation, a Masonic group, funded Christopher Colon, who was renamed by the organisation as Christopher Columbus circa 1480s. The Columbia faction symbol was a black dove. It is also interesting to note that the Illuminati, an Italian Masonic group, was formed in 1776 in America. Both of these groups adhere to their own hereditary bloodlines and purposely do not intermix with other ancestries. That's taken out of David Icke's book. All right, as we know, these attorneys turn, twist and turn over the clients to the private law of the bankruptcies, clients and wards of the court, crowns, British accredited registry, bar, international agents, attorneys in association with the Vatican by treaties, the exchequer of the Vatican Treasury, everything, all roads lead back to Rome, as we realised. The Unijoy statute. Okay, guys, read through this in your own time. If you have filed your UCC-1 and have captured your title and your artificial entity, this makes no difference in their courts. Why? They operate a total fiction in the land of Oz. In respect to any assumed standing, which you may by mistake think otherwise, they can only recognise contracts. You are a real sentient being outside of their created social compact, contractually speaking. Whatever you file in their court, whether it's your UCC-1 or use any of their perceived law which is copyrighted in the administrative or judicial power of their lawful incredibly in truth to them. They do not recognise truth of any sort other than by such corporations which they administer and or contract law governing social compacts and their corporations and such applicable treaties between them. So remember the motto, David Moore Miller, no law or fact should be tried in court. It's the Temple Bar motto. Okay, but we can go in there. It is all a game. That's why it's, courts, why all the racketeering happens, the embezzling of our estates. There's a way to play it. Even though you do have all your estates corrected, it's just going in there and acting honourably and accepting the charge and just using their limited exemption. It's as simple as that. So at the end of the day, courts are just banks, foreign dressers and dry dock. So I never got involved with courts. I dealt with them all on paper. So the paper is the court, and I've got no contract with them. They've got no right to make a verdict or charge or judge me. God is my only judge. Who is another man to judge me? I've not given you the authority. So just spiritually, as a sovereign, feeling into that, that got the job done for me. A lot of people go in there, they have experience in the court playing these games, but ultimately it's all fiction. It's a dog and pony show. But ultimately, once you get everything set up, you're in a position to just accept the charge and discharge it. Okay, using the acceptance of value and these processes, being able to access your account once you've got all the right, indemnity bonds, set off bonds, international bill of exchange in place, secured party creditor, etc. Okay, so that allows you to be able to pay and utilize your trust. And here it is. So the divine structure of the family is the only true source of sovereignty outside of the supreme creator of all creation. That's it. The only true source of sovereignty. I love that. The divine structure of the family is the only true source of sovereignty outside of the supreme creator of all creation. Remember that. That's so important. It says it's 70 years. If the Bible is res judicata instead decisis, the creator said that people and their social constructs can come out of bankruptcy with their creditors. But again, because of the brainwashing, people I've got no idea the system they're in, and through just consenting through their non-compliance or just ignorant compliance, each bankruptcy is renewed, and then the same old procedure keeps carrying on and on and on. Okay, if you love your master and your period of service is up, you can go to the judge, recite the fact that you love your master and you don't want to leave him. It's all in the Bible, right? This is what people are doing unwittingly, ignorantly, because they're too sucked into the bread and circuses and the conditioning, the social epigenetic conditioning that it's gone on for thousands of years. Nothing settled by force is ever settled at all. Free will is the true test of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Okay, we want to accept the charge as those who went to heaven accepted the Christ to pay our ways for our sins. Debt is sin. Okay, sin is debt. This is an interesting breakdown. So look at the back of the so-called $1 bill. You see an Egyptian pyramid. This is the symbol and logo of the US Treasury. Have you observed the architecture of Washington, D.C. with its Egyptian monoliths, columns, stairways, and corinths? What are the colours of Egypt? Red, white, and blue. What is the symbol of Egypt? The five-pointed star. Egypt means hemmed in or boxed in. The District of Columbia, that's why you got in the City of London as well. They've got the Vatican, the City of London, and District of Columbia. It's the three obelisks. And there's a lot of artifacts taken from Egypt, because that's where the most recent kind of knowledge of the master slave system of the Babylonian slave driving techniques was adopted through Freemasonry as well, and the esoteric knowledge that was held there, the Emerald Tablets of Thoth, and all the Leviathan Illuminati forces, okay, that were governing, as pharaohs, this master slave system during that time. Okay, which is why so-called God in the Bible took them out of Egypt into Israel, but then they demanded another king under Samuel. I forgot the chapter and the verse, but God warned people to demand a king. He's going to take a tenth of your seed, your wealth, and do all these things, but they demanded it. So okay, free will's going to be respected. You want to be a slave and serve a king. This is what the king's going to do to you. He'll turn you into a farm product and harvest you, fleece you, and from cradle to grave. So District of Columbia is assumed to be a 10-mile square. The District, United States of Columbia, was started by the Illuminati, a Masonic group that originated in, Egypt. What do you think the Illuminati called the United States? You guessed it, New Egypt. Okay, so most of us all know this, but it's really good. Like I said, it's full of many pearls of wisdom, great facts, good breakdown of the history, and reasoning as to why we need to. The UCC is the answer in this day and age. So any constitution must have some prior reference to establish its foundation. The authority for the so-called American Constitution is alleged to be based upon the Bible, the Magna Charta, signed in 1215 by King John, the Petition of Rights granted by King Charles I in 1628, the English Bill of Rights granted by William and Mary in 1689, the right of habeas corpus granted by King Charles II, and the Articles of Confederation in 1781. Only the man who has privilege of printing and or minting the money and loaning or extending such as interest can determine who gets special drawing rights, funding, his friends and allies, as we know. All depressions and recessions are artificially created through the restriction of a medium of counting or exchange, manipulation of the money supply. Under martial law, title is mere fiction, since all property belongs to the military except for that property which the commander-in-chief may, in his benevolence, exempt from taxation and seizure, and upon which he allows the enemy to reside. And a lot of the guys in America especially who went up against the so-called international money changers, the money kings, they were assassinated, because they were trying to come out from under the grips of the crown, which is just the Rothschild, so these Illuminati family members, satanic worshippers. In English law, courts established the king, queen's possessions beyond the seas had jurisdiction over maritime causes, including those related to booty or prize. All courts in America or around the world are vice admiralty courts in the crown's private commerce. Read the definition of courts of exchequer for the Treasury of the Vatican, as defined in the 3rd, 4th, or 5th edition of the Black's Law Dictionary. So we'll read through this. So complete in the comfort of their illusions are those who call themselves, wherever you are in the world, Americans especially, I think they've been brainwashed probably the most, that they give new meaning to the phrase, there's a sucker born every second. If you create a system which is fraud from end to end, and is both self-reinforcing and transparent, people won't even realize it exists or the reasons for its existence and what they do to perpetuate its existence. This may be because of fear of what is not understood. The only thing one has to fear is fear itself. This fear arises at the very foundation of each and every action perpetrated is founded upon illusionary trickery that, when exposed, creates the need for even more deceit and fraud to maintain a semblance of order. This phenomenon is known as psychological dissonance. Getting closer to the truth would require the rejection of almost everything that one has been taught to believe is real. Once you realize that the spectacles being played out daily in the courts, financial markets, institutions of higher learning, entertainment, and the world of politics are little more than clever charades for perpetuating false perceptions, the reason for the people's collective state of confusion comes more sharply into view. Most of us realize in this journey it is difficult with the ones, your loved ones and stuff, but like I said, it'd probably take you buying a mansion, and once everything's set up, you making those secure transactions for them to pay attention. But you can just drop seeds and keep watering those seeds every now and again. And like I said, off the back of this more advanced process, once everything's set up, you're going to be in a position where they're going to start paying attention. Trust me, you can see that. So just quickly, prior to 1913, when the Federal Reserve Act was passed, most so-called Americans owned property, or people around the world as well, and had allodial titles. There are no property taxes in this situation. When we buy property now, we're not given an allodial title. Instead, we are given a title deed, which is not fee simple absolute. As we know, allodial is free, not holding on any lord or superior, owned without obligation of vassalage or fealty. That's from Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. And you have title deeds which constitute or are the evidence of title to lands. And again, that's Black's Law Dictionary, 5th edition. So yeah, the president becomes commander-in-chief, ipso facto, in effect, a non-constitutional dictator, acting under the law of necessity, the law of war. National emergency is extended every year. So that's how they're getting away with this military construct of communism. Under the bankruptcy, is every year it's renewed. That's why they have to always have enemy at the gates. Or we're going to be at war or something, a virus, a fucking war in the Middle East, Ukraine, Russia. It's all contrived, divide and conquer. They've perfected and mastered this kind of dissonance that everyone buys into, this democracy. It's as we know, it's all a illusion. It's a dog and pony show. This is a really interesting court case. So First National Bank of Montgomery versus Jerome Daly has the effect of declaring all private mortgages on real and personal property and all US and state bonds held by the Federal Reserve, national and state banks to be null and void. The Credit River decision, as it is known, was and still is the most important legal decision ever decided by a jury. And if you go in, it explains this in the book and actually breaks down the dialogue in the script of what was mentioned in court and the whole case. And it's amazing. Unfortunately, the judge who gave the order 6 months later died, but it set the precedent to show how these banks, the Federal Reserve, are just drawing money on account from a balance of zero, just from the signature of the applicant. And that applicant is otherwise another offer, which is extended to us. And they obviously, do what they do with this obligation and use our signature, turn that document of application into a bit of exchange, and that's what releases the funds. Okay, anything with your signature, name, date, and amount is going to be charged and turned into a bit of exchange. And if you don't go through the proper procedure of recoupment of acquiring your abandoned assets and turn it into a security lodging on the UCC, they come in and they take it. That's why there's a grace period of 36 months if you haven't, redeemed what has otherwise been that you've signed with the credit you've created with these securities. Then they come and take it off you because you're seen as abandoned. That's just law. It's just the way the cookie crumbles in this game. So we have here, okay, this is now getting into the UCC, okay, so as a derivative of law of commercial, being removed from natural law and therefore inferior, is common law. So common, breaking it down, L code together plus munus service, gift and exchange, to exchange together. This emerged basically in England out of dispute over a portion of the earth in allodium, okay, so sovereign ownership of land, and was allegedly based on common sense. Common law is the law of the earth governing the exchange of soil. Okay, we've got the earth element there, it's common law. We have the air element, it's trust law. Then we have the water element, it's obviously Admiralty maritime law. Fire, I don't know, ether is universal law. Okay, so you've got the 5 elements there. Fire is probably otherwise the transmutation element that exists between these states. That can turn water into vapor, into gas, needs air and earth in order to unite. So it's probably a combination of trust law and common law. This fire element, anyway, just breaking in esoterically, it's all hidden there. There's so much esotericness in what we're doing as well. So the entirety of world commerce now functions in accordance with the Uniform Commercial Code. These laws govern commercial transactions, including sales and leasing goods, transfer of funds, commercial paper, bank deposits and collections, letters of credit, bulk transfers, warehouse receipts, bills of lading, investment securities and secured transactions. The UCC is the supreme law on the planet, and all other forms of law are encompassed by it and included in it, except you as the sovereign, of course. Pennsylvania was the first state to adopt the UCC in July 1954, Louisiana the last in January 1st, 1975. Nothing in the UCC has ever been repealed, nor can it ever be, no matter if any jurisdiction chooses to declare it so, because it is founded upon the supreme creator's pillars of universal law. Okay, so remember, if you go on Unidroit, website's an organization that owns the copyright to the UCC, Uniform Commercial Code. If you look at every member state that is otherwise paying the right to utilize these codes in their given nation, you'll see where the UCC is otherwise covertly being implemented but disguised as statutory jurisdiction. Okay, so it is international. We're in international. Admiralty Maritime deals with international contracts. Okay, so no matter how you look at it, no matter where you are, if people think, oh, UCC only applies in America. No, it is covertly governing and directing your statutes, no matter where you are in this bankruptcy. If your country is a part of the Unidroit members who are signing up to the Unidroit Act and statute, you are operating under the same UCC system, okay? Which is why if you're outside the United States, you typically find international filers filing UCC statements in Washington, DC and or New York, okay? And apparently Maryland is like a secret hidden agricultural place to lien real property under common law. Okay, there's a lot of kind of weird sovereign filings that go on there in Maryland. There's kind of a special setup with the UCC there, which is really intricately linked to the common law and the remedies assigned to that when it comes to assigning land and dealing with those kind of things. But I just heard that circulated through some of the discussions. It was quite interesting. Apparently you can't file online there, you've got to go in person and fill in the paperwork, etc. So it's kind of like a bit of a unique spot in that regard for certain contracts, right, with things you want to achieve. But for international, even with people in the US, it's probably worth filing in New York. New York is New Babylon, and or Washington DC. That's where the United States corporation is housed. which is one of the three heads, the military arm of this New World Order, District of Columbia, okay, which again is just international. It's a foreign company owned by the Vatican. All roads lead back to Rome, okay. And as you see, as I will suggest, when getting this Treasury pack put together, we're going to send one to Puerto Rico. Treasury, if you're in America, you might as well send one to the United States Treasury on the United States American land, mass soil, and also to the Vatican Treasury. I'm going to send one to the Vatican Treasury and then CC my local Treasury here in the UK, as well as the IMF. Okay, that's who I'm going to CC in. Man is the state, lest we forget this. Sovereignty must be asserted. The great enemy of the truth is very often not the lie, deliberate, contrived, and dishonest, but the myth, persistent, persuasive, and realistic. Okay, let's go into more of the UCC. Sovereign is answerable for his acts only to his God and his own conscience. There is no authority above a sovereign to which an appeal can be made. Okay, that's in 402, Bouvier's 4th edition, Law Dictionary, Sovereignty. Okay, you are part of the sovereign authority in a collective capacity. You can become head of state in your individual capacity and step into the position of one of the sovereigns, and your role of responsibility is intended from time past. As stated in Scripture, we are the kings and priests of Israel, man ruling with God. It is your history and destiny to assume that power of sovereignty. What's the answer? The only way out of this is to overcome the presumption that you are the surety of the straw man, the legal fiction. That's why the redemption process is the only way to defeat this presumption, by using the Uniform Commercial Code by public notice, which is the code that the fictional commercial world operates under. The first step is to capture the straw man, is to establish a security agreement between you and the straw man, and then file a UCC-1 financing statement to secure a claim by a superior security interest against the all-capitalized legal fiction straw man, the property and the collateral. Said security interest or registration of title control is placed upon the birth certificate, social security account, driver's license, etc., by and through acceptance for value. The UCC-1 financing statement, security interest and a lien, and the filing of the existence of these documents will redeem you and your debtor/straw man from the commercial system and establish documented evidence to overcome the presumption that you are the surety for the straw man. When all has been accepted for value, including your birth certificate, you become the holder in due course of all documents, collateral, and the property, and are now in commercial control of the property, the collateral, and the debtor. There is a chargeback process that goes back to the United States Treasury to charge up what is called your UCC contract trust account, identified by the debtor straw man social security number. The chargeback charges up the account for future discharge of debt. Your debtor is the utility that all commercial transactions charges pass through, and it is your debt duty and responsibility to accept for value and discharge all charges, claims, fines, debts, taxes, etc. Okay. The United States only needed to provide the remedy. It was not required to explain it or even tell the people where the remedy could be found. And this is in, HJR 192 is the insurance policy that protects the legislatures from conviction for fraud and treason against the American people. HJR 192 provided that the one with the gold paid the bills. Okay, and this applies internationally because they're all singing off the same hymn sheet, right? I know this happened in the UK prior to that, but this is because like I said, America is otherwise used. If you look at New York, United Nations is there, you've got the DTCC, Depository Trust Corporation, Fidelity, Bloomberg, the World Trade Center. This is where everything is governed. All the securities pass through America. Okay, which is why people internationally find a remedy there. You can find remedy there. Whether you can find it in your own home soil, possibly. And that could possibly only happen if you actually go through liquidating your estate through the probate process of the courts given where you are. Just think about that. And I know Bill Turner shares something similar to what he's done in New Zealand, suggesting that this is how they found that remedy. And there is obviously utilising what is the equivalent there, which I've got the name of, but it's the equivalent of the UCC, where security interests are lodged and leaned upon, right, for these securities. I've got the name of it. It'll probably come back to me. But this is otherwise what you can do, and you can look into that. And this is something we're going to have to do as well, because it's going to be worth. If you remember under the Bill of Exchange Act, I think it's Section 41, subsection 2A. Presentments can be excused if the one being presented is dead or is a legal fiction. So in order to prove that, this entity they're trying to address is actually dead, you must declare it so. Go through probate, get your affidavit of death, your death certificate from the vital statistics, the coroner's office. And then from there you can put a will together and go through the courts, the probate process, and have everything bequested to you as the living individual, as the secured party creditor. And that's something you could probably actually invoke and get done through your national court system. If you just go through the fact of a normal probate procedure with a living will set up in the name of your straw man, with you then being the executor or the personal representative and the beneficiary to receive then all that is bequested and held in their name, and then their courts will be able to go through the proper procedures of bequesting and liquidating the estate and giving you full control, okay, which is otherwise part of this process too. But what I'm trying to say is, once you learn the process, you could probably just tailor make it to apply to wherever you are with a more kind of domestic approach rather than an international approach, even though it's all international anyway, okay? So we have here security instruments, commercial paper, replace substance as collateral for debts. Okay, this is the term that you're going to have to drill in your heads over and over again to truly understand what that means. Security instruments, which is just commercial paper, have now replaced substance as collateral for all debts. So what happened before, debts and contracts were otherwise backed by substance, which was what? Gold and silver. Okay, so now instead of gold and silver, when they revoked and got us to get rid of all the gold and silver in exchange to discharge our debt dollar for dollar using the fiat currency, we now have security instruments, which are just commercial paper, non-redeemable negotiable instruments, replaced substance collateral for debts. Okay, security instruments could be supported by presumptive contracts. Debt instruments with collateral and accommodating parties could be used instead of money. Money of exchange, and the need for money was disappearing, and new money was being created, i.e. money of account, created by bill of exchange, and a uniform system of laws had to be put in place to allow the commercial venue and the courts to uphold the security instruments that depended on commercial fictions as a basis for compelling payment or performance. You guys remember UCC Connection? It explains it brilliantly. Really good book, short reads, but it lays out exactly what's happened. In the 1900s, the age-old principles of commerce shifted from substance to form. Okay, those who enticed the people to register, which basically surrender their property, land, cars, guns, children, to the state, gained control of the substance through the registrations. Regis, handing over your titles and rights to the king, the crown, and the states acting on behalf of the crown, were able to extract more use taxes from the people to use the property of the state. The state became whole of the titles to all property, even children and many other things. The definition of property is the interest one has in the thing is the principal, the property is the interest in the thing. Profits, interest, made from the property of another, belong to the owner of the thing. Profits were made by the deceivers by pledging the registered property in commercial markets, but the profits do not belong to the deceivers. The profits belong to the owners of the things. That is always the people. The corporation only shows ownership of paper, titles to things. The substance cannot appear in the fiction. Watch the movie Last Action Hero with Arnold Schwarzenegger and watch the confusion created when they try to mix substance and fiction. Sometimes the fiction is made to look very much like substance, but fiction can never become substance. It is an impossibility. The profits from all the registered things had to be put into a constructive trust for the benefit of the owners. If the profits were put into the general fund of the country and not into separate trusts for the owners, the scheme would represent fraud. The profits for each owner cannot be commingled. If the owner failed to use his available fictional credits held in a constructive trust account, fund or financial ledger to benefit from the profits, it would not be the fault of the deceivers. If the owner failed to learn the law that would open the door to his remedy, it would not be the fault of the deceivers. Okay, this is how they're getting away with it. The owner is responsible for learning the law, so he understands that the profits from his things are available for him to discharge debts or charges brought against his public person, debtor, strawman by the state. This is how they're bypassing the karma, because they're leaving it open for us as remedy. And yes, it could be argued it is deceitful, disingenuous, but the remedy's always been there. It's just up to us to come back to life and actually want to seek it. Seek and you shall find. If the state has the gold, the state pays the bills. From the trust account, fund or financial ledger, the definition of fund is money set aside to pay a debt. The fund is there to discharge the public debts attributed to the state subjects, but ultimately back to the accommodating parties, the nation's people. The national debt is what is owed to the owners of the registered things, the nation's people, as well as to other creditors. Until your financing statement is filed, your country is the holder of the title to the artificial entity. Okay, so the social national insurance number belonging to your debtor is the trust account number for a chargeback for all presumed charges brought against your debtor for proper discharge. Think of the whole transaction in relation to a dead battery. Okay, the battery represents your public person, John in this instance, all caps, which is a dead entity that can function within the public maze of fiction, transmitting benefits from the public to you in the private if it is charged up. You can't go into the public because you are not a fiction. John, all caps, has no power until it is charged with some energy. That energy comes from the IRS default notice, court judgment, credit card bill, utility bill, traffic ticket, or some other instrument that has a dollar or pound amount wherever you are, and John's all cap name on it as the presumed debtor. The bill is the energy. It charges the dead, all cap name John. You can now discharge all cap name John and put John's accrual account with the charging party back to a zero balance. Okay, and this is the key. This is why people who are trying to do this process of accepting for value and trying to invoke our right to discharge the debt aren't having any luck, because they haven't got the set-off bond and they're not charging the UCC contract trust account through depositing these bonds in the Treasury and then finding the necessary liens that make you the entitlement holder and have secured interest in your debtor. So you can only be doing these things as a secured party creditor to your debtor strawman, then using your debtor strawman as a transmitting utility to get these things done. Okay, using your signature and these bonds, after 90 days they cure, and then you're able to seek your remedy, get them to pay for you, because they're the ones that hold all the gold and silver, so they're the ones that got the fund there, but you've got to charge up your account through depositing a set-off bond. Then you have to have insurance, because all vessels upon the high seas must have insurance. That is the law, and that's where the indemnity bond comes in. Then you've got the International Bill of Exchange. Okay, so it all ties in. He who fails to assert his rights has none, which unequivocally establishes that, just as a closed mouth never gets fed, a matter must be expressed to be resolved. Okay, so it continues. Just got a few more pages, guys. Again, this is just re-emphasizing the importance of the UCC. Book of Isaiah, 5th chapter, 13th verse tells us, therefore my people are gone into captivity because they have no knowledge. In the book of Isaiah, 4th chapter, 6th verse, my people are destroyed for a lack of knowledge. So true. In time of war, laws are silent. Cicero. Due to the bankruptcy, every citizen is pledged as an asset to support the bankruptcy, must work to pay the insurance premiums and the underwriting necessary to keep the bankrupt government in operation under Chapter 2 bankruptcy reorganization. In bankruptcy, only creditors have rights. Okay? In a nutshell, as a debtor, you have no rights. Rights are reduced to mere privileges, which are licensed, regulated, and can be altered, amended, and changed to meet whatever the particular or special needs of their government may be for whatever whim. So important. All these points, so important. The only unbreakable contract in existence in the world today is a UCC-1 financial statement. Okay, only through filing the UCC-1 financial statement, accepting for value your birth certificate, and executing a lien upon the government created all capital letters name by you and your proper birth given name as the secured party, and listing anything and everything your debtor owns, will own, or possibly ever could own or control as collateral in the security agreement, can you effectively and permanently remove yourself from the status of a debtor to that of a creditor and actually control property, have access to enforceable constitutional rights. By filing a UCC-1 financial statement, you become an actual creditor with standing in law and acquire the ability to state a claim upon which relief can be granted and discharge any and all taxes. Okay guys, so pretty self-explanatory there. The Uniform Commercial Code, UCC, governs all commercial transactions in the world. Any person, including government corporations, agencies, etc., involved in the sales of goods, commercial paper, bank deposits and collections, letters of credit, bulk transfer, warehouse receipts, bills of lading, investment securities and secure transactions is governed by the UCC. By executing a UCC-1 financing statement, John Henry Smith would simply do what government and the IRS does not do. File your UCC-1 statement into the commercial registry and claim everything related to your all caps name or any derivative name, corporate fiction, i.e. the birth certificate, social security account and card number. The living, breathing real man/woman then controls the fictitious entity, including all contracts related to the birth certificate and social security account number, which is your UCC contract trust account number. Thusly, the real you secures all rights and interests and the title in the fictitious entity, which is your debtor strawman, all caps name. Now, government and the IRS has to deal with you as the creditor in your upper lowercase name. Conditional acceptance for value for proof of claim, CAFV for short, to seek an agreement with the IRS in relation to certain points and facts that all you can do is discharge the tax liability of your debtor strawman with the bill of exchange. After filing your UCC-1 financing statement, it becomes evidence of a security interest in the debtor/fiction, which is aka your strawman, okay, whom the IRS uses to force, intimidate, threaten, and compel the real flesh and blood man or woman to pay what are called taxes. Under the Uniform Commercial Code, a financial statement is used under Article 9 to reflect a public record that there is a security interest or claim to the property/goods in question to secure a debt or interest. The financing statement is filed by the security holder, which is the real man or woman, with the Secretary of State or similar public body, and as a result becomes public record and becomes evidence of title as a party in control of the debtor/fiction or strawman. You become the secured party with all rights, interest, and title in the debtor/fiction's birth certificate, social security account, driver's license, automobile, certificates of title, credit cards, loans, property taxes, etc., etc. Under contract law, title to whatever is offered transfers instantaneously upon acceptance, not upon payment, like many seem to think. Payment, a consideration, is merely incidental. Okay, and this is key. This is where they're trapping so many souls, right, with these adhesion contracts and this what is otherwise defined as a commercial agreement under this new bankrupt system, where the common law, what is required to have a common law contract, a lawful common law contract, it just gets left by the wayside. They don't care about that anymore. It's not needed under this new commercial UCC controlled fiat debt-based currency maritime admiralty system. Okay, is this fact. Under contract law, title to whatever is offered transfers instantaneously upon acceptance, not upon payment like many seem to think. So your mere acceptance locks you in, and that acceptance can be derived from you seeking a privilege and a benefit from their system, which is pretty much using their fiat debt currency notes, okay, and all being silent through displaying ignorance of the law. As they state, it's no excuse, it's a legal maxim. You can't be ignorant of this. You must know what's going on. And withdraw your consent, reserve all your rights without prejudice, UCC-1, 308. That's where that comes in, that's why that's so important. Okay? That's why we sign a name like that. Reserve my right not to be compelled to perform on any commercial agreement or contract that I did not enter into knowingly, intentionally, and voluntarily. Furthermore, I do not accept the liability of any compelled benefit from any hidden commercial agreement or contract. Okay? And because that's the new system now, it's very sneaky. So you've got to be careful. Under contract law, title to whatever is offered transfers instantaneously upon acceptance, not upon payment like many seem to think. Payment, a consideration, is merely incidental. UCC-3 amendment filing is where you add any newly acquired property to your commercial affairs, and he's got examples of this in the book when you go through, okay, which obviously I will be showing you guys when I go through my UCC-1 filing and breaking down the collateral section, what to put, what to tick. Everything's going to be a non-UCC filing, right? Unless you are doing a filing to add more collateral, like your car, where it will become an agricultural lien. In that instance, everything else is a non-UCC, which is a hidden maritime lien and contract that lasts 30 years. Okay, so you'll be able to find that in your own time, but there is examples of actual UCC contracts in here. Okay, as you can see here, this is the empty ones. Okay, but it does otherwise give you examples, I think, of the actual filings. Okay, so you can see here, And this is a sample of UCC-3 amendment. Okay, hard copy after electronic filing and in a vehicle to your commercial affairs. Remember, your state issued certificate of title only certifies that a title exists, but said motorcycle or pickup was pledged to the state as the state owns the vehicle. Okay, so this is where you quote your original UCC-1 filing, and then in the UCC-3 you add, okay, and you put in the description of the property, and then you sign it. And then, as you see with Peter Polinsky, we stamp it with an international stamp, making it basically self-notarizing ourselves, becoming the postmaster. And then you want to register this, so send it through the post yourself to become a security. Anything you register makes it a security. And under the Bills of Exchange Act, it stops it from becoming an inchoate instrument. We then on the reverse put a 2-cent stamp, sign across it in gold. Gold is authority, AU, okay, gives us autonomy and authority. And we do all these things to make sure we are appeasing the commercial law of commercial paper, which, as we know, when you break down the latest Black's Law edition, okay, under the Bills of Exchange Act, remember paper, definition of paper is otherwise what? Evidence of a debt. Okay, what is a debt? It's just a bit of paper. Okay, so that's all this is. But in order to turn that bit of paper into a security instrument that you control, you must do all these processes. All right, and so that's a good example. UCC-3 filing, you have other options here, which is assigned. Okay, so when you do your common law copyright rather, you're going to be assigning that to the relevant agency, and also your bonds. You're going to be clicking assign to the Treasury. Okay, and then obviously if you want to delete your original UCC-1 filing, you'll click delete. Okay, which we'll go through because I've already got a basic UCC-1 filing which I'm going to have to go through and terminate. So in the next videos, obviously I'll break that down once I get the things I need in place in order to then put together the filing for you guys to follow along, so things are clear. So we have the comprehensive security agreement. It's non-dischargeable, okay, by any Title II bankruptcy court, and is fully 100% transferable to any heir or assign. This security agreement carries a full functional fidelity bond and indemnity clause. The collateral covered is extensive. Okay, so it is a very, very good security agreement. Just pull it up right now. Let's have a look. Let's get my one up. Security agreements. So you can see here, pretty extensive. It's over 18 pages. Okay, and you'll see in Schedule A, you can then list all of your assets, all of your property. You can see the fidelity bond in here, indemnity bond and fidelity bond, okay, which is up here somewhere. There it is, fidelity bond. So guys, when you're working through these documents, take your time, go through, work through the PJP one, which has got all the highlights of where you need to change, then put up alongside my one and see if anywhere I've changed anything and added like more laws associated to being at an international level, or me being in the UK and Australia. So obviously I was born in Australia, so I've got trust and security interests there that they've obviously pledged in my name. But then obviously when I came and moved to England, I was 9 years old, and then obviously I turned 18 here. I got assigned the national insurance pass-through trust account in the UK, so I've got interest in Australia, I've got interest in documents and securities here in the UK. Okay, so I had to kind of blend the two, but also keep USA in mind, but come at it ultimately at an international level. Okay, so there might be some things that you might want to consider based on your situation with how I've changed some of the text, not all of it, but you know, that's something you're gonna have to do in your own time in order to discern for yourself and actually read through and understand what it is we're going through and what we're doing. So there's Schedule A, so you can just see here, you know, all the stuff that I've otherwise listed. Okay, so that's the security agreement, very extensive compared to a lot of other ones I've seen that are quite basic, but it can be basic, but it's good to, like, you know, when especially doing this more advanced process, making sure it is extensive and comprehensive. So ultimately you want to learn to use and file UCC-1 form, UCC-3s, which is what we're going to be doing, and the acceptance for value process, okay, and then the copy certification by document custodian and the exclusive tour process, okay, which is all in this book, guys. So you just got to read. It's all in this book. He outlines it, goes through every single one of it. All right. You can see at the back here. Was that? Yeah, look. So that is otherwise what ends up in the Vatican. Your landmark. What's that? Your sole of your foot and your sole. It's your landmark, your trademark. That's what they're claiming. It's sick. This is what we're going to claim back, right? Okay, so keep that in mind, right? So there are 4 elements of title. You got 1 possession, 2 use, 3 time, and 4 interest. After your security agreement is in place, okay, so to establish the interest in your property, you have to follow UCC-1 or UCC-3 lien on the property first in line and first in time, and then you'd have superior security interest and title. Security agreement. The security agreement is the first document that must be filled out and notarized before proceeding with the rest of the process, because it is the authority or basis for becoming a secured party creditor. It is the agreement that transfers the security interest and personal property between the public side debtor strawman and the private side creditor secured party. The security interest is normally perfected either by the creditor taking possession of the collateral or by filing financing statements in the proper public records. Once security agreement is perfected, filed first in time, first in line, you as creditor has first priority right of possession and lien. Okay, the UCC-1 or 3 establishes superior security interest and lien, bad replacement title on the property as supported by your security agreement. Since all property has been pledged to the state and owned by the international bankers, it now has been redeemed after the filings of the UCC-1 and UCC-3. Okay, it's not necessary to publish the text of the copyright in a newspaper or post in your local courthouse. It will only be necessary to give notice as the need arises, okay, which will save a lot of hassle. The chargeback process, since it was the registration of your birth certificate that established your status as debtor and property to the international bankers, you will now reverse the process by your registration by UCC-1 and the chargeback process, and you will charge up your UCC contract trust account with your bonds. Okay, the bill of exchange is your directive to the Secretary of the Treasury of the United States to charge up UCC contract trust account. Credit from acceptance of birth certificate by the secured party creditor for value expressed on it, which is suggested 100 billion. Okay, that's what we're going to be using, 100 billion. This is very similar to the way a debit card works. Unlike a credit card, you must first make a deposit and charge up the card before you can use it. Okay, so should be self-explanatory, guys, and gives, you know, even more explanatory depth as to the reason why the UCC-1 is our only remedy. We've got to use the UCC, you know, we've got to learn and recognize the waters we're swimming in, which is the UCC. So that's where we're going to find our remedy. Okay, so you're going to have this in the Dropbox link for you guys to go through in your own time, which is just, you know, a breakdown of the key notes that I've taken out of this redemption manual. You're going to have a copy of the redemption manual to read through if you wish to go through the whole thing. Okay, it is a big read, but well worth it. Thoroughly enjoyed it. Like I said, it's got everything, even including the process, the beginnings of the redemption process, the chargeback, the bonds, the reasons why, and then going into the private administrative procedure off the back of once everything's established. Okay, so this is it's going to be a process. We're going to have to learn about trust management, ultimately setting up your trust, and, you know, operating appropriately within these trusts. Okay, so you're keeping above the law, where you can't be indicted or prosecuted or penalized. All right, so you have that. You also have access to the Peter Lita notes, okay, which is all the notes that I've taken out of the series, okay, here, which explains the whole process, which we'll just briefly go through now in terms of what is the actual process, okay, to break down. But before doing that, I'm just going to take a break, and then we're going to come back and might as well go through the notes and then a brief explanation, then dive into the first steps of the process. Okay, after which we're going to call it a day or a night, depending on what time you're watching this video. For me, it's night. And I'll come back on in the next presentation and break down more of the forms, the templates, and getting the first steps done in terms of the UCC-1. Okay, but it pretty much explains the whole process here. Okay, which is all very self-explanatory. And like I said, you've got access to all of the videos there, so you can hear it from the horse's mouth. Okay, but we'll just go through these first 13 pages as part of this presentation. I know it's a big one, but it's just going to be necessary to introduce you guys to what it is we're going to do and why we're doing what we're doing. Okay, context is key. Right, so grab a drink, have a break, and we'll come back and finish this bad boy off. All right, guys, welcome back. We're just going to go through this again so you can get orientated as to the process. Then obviously go away off the back of this and do your homework. It's a lot of homework, a lot to unpack and absorb this information. So you get to learn the process inside out and get this package put together. And yeah, we'll obviously go through this together. I'll show you everything that I'm doing and try and break it down so you've got the speed steps. Okay, so let's smash this out, and then you guys can go off and yeah, do your homework on this. So the generic notes, right, let's go through the landmark is your footmark. Okay, bottom of your foot is your soul. As we know, the Vatican bought your soul. That's what that means. Bought the security, born into bondage. Claimed by your birth title as opposed to your birth certificate of title. Okay, it's every man's responsibility to know the laws, to protect his family. As said before, world is run by righteous people, higher brain, not reptilian, lower brain, animalistic. Okay, so it's all about coming back to life, being responsible, and yeah, becoming a man, basically, becoming an adult, taking responsibility and being accountable for your actions and all your property. You have the right to use the name, but the state has legal title and controlling interest in the property. Okay, Pharaoh, Hebrew, and the Israelites went and told them to go out there and make bricks without straw. What that meant was go do business without your trade name. Kindergarten conditions you when they do the registration in class and call out your name. You put your hand up and say yes, miss or mister. Okay, so it's unbelievable, you know, how deep the programming goes and how early on it started, right? It's just scary. I didn't know that until looking back, it makes so much sense, right? Getting to say yes, you know, you are that strawman, you are that fucking interlegiate entity, that name that's being called out in the courts. Yes, I'm here. Please stand. Please rise. It's so, we're just conditioned, man. Like it's crazy. But like I said, this is a time that we're breaking these chains, these invisible chains. It's all secured transactions and amity law. A certificate is a paper establishing an ownership claim. Okay, document structure the birth certificate. Private side, you're unlimited. Create your own credit. Unlimited liability. Public side, you're limited. Heaven is just a state of mind. All right, the history of why the courts were developed, it was all for human development. Heaven has a strong better. So if you want to be free, you have to be tried. Okay, you know, try me, cool. I owe you something, sure. How do I pay? Where's my signature? I'm selling my signature for 10 grand each page. You know, this is the power we have when we realize, you know, what we can do, unlimited exemption. Our ability to produce unlimited credit. Debt, sin is the same thing. What Gene Keating was getting into, which my buddy just did, this is Peter Lita speaking, which my buddy just did, was finding out how to get the QSIPs that are internationally traded. That's when you are a multi-millionaire / billionaire overnight. Martial law, field manual. If they act belligerent, they can seize the property on behalf of the corporation. Trust law, tax law, UCC, securities, commerce, accounting. Okay, contracts govern all of them. It's all banking. All right, copyright notice. It's part of the UCC collateral section. You can use this in defense in court. For example, officer pulls you over. You can say, not consenting to contract with you. If I give you my name, you know, it's X amount to use it. This is on the fee schedule or in the copyright notice. Otherwise, this would be copyright infringement, and you could put a maritime tort claim and default them. So this is when you start learning the private administrative procedure, and once everything's established, you can actually start getting money from these infringements that are made against you with these common law copyright notices, right? And processes of getting them into default through dishonor, non-performance. What is an admiralty maritime jurisdiction criminally charge people in the procedures in their courts is for non-performance on contract. Equity compels performance, but under admiralty, it's the equity that compels performance on the non-performance of a contract that can bring forth a criminal charge, regardless. Okay, only through equity, the equity courts you can be compelled to perform, be charged criminally if you're in contempt of court, if you refuse to perform. Okay, off the bat, straight away in admiralty, you're criminally charged by not performing. Admiralty law, it's all insurance, as we said. Recommended to set up a PO box, okay, to help distinguish a place of business as compared to a living man. So, for example, I actually have my debtor Strawman located in Denver using a post mailbox suite. Suite is what makes it international, apparently. And I'm also operating on the private side from another post mailbox here in the UK, in London, okay, which is my foreign address. All right, so I've got a presence in America, and I've also got a foreign presence here in the UK. However, when you do your package and your status correction documents, like your foreign tax exempt status, your claimant of foreign status, no matter where you are, you still be foreign, okay? Even within the jurisdiction, the domain of the social construct that you're in, the bankrupt nation state, and that's the power of these documents in this package. It's got scrib.com, lots of great reads. I've actually put together for you guys all the scribs. Let's have a look. I've uploaded this on Dropbox View, which is otherwise all the other extra documents that goes through throughout the whole series that I could get my hands on through Scribd to download, okay, that otherwise he mentions in the videos. Not all of it is there, but some of it is, that can be downloaded for your benefit to read through, okay, as and when and if you need to. The Great Flood is the flood of the mind and the people. Declared as vessels under amity maritime. Writing your name is a fact with proper grammar. There is no real authority behind it. You want to be writing your name in the private all caps, Middleditch Alexander George, okay? Or do that in the uppercase, lowercase, doesn't really matter, but making sure you put the last name first, then the first name, then the middle. This is how these guys, the more advanced processors, are doing this, okay? So let's just follow suit and repeat what has been done to be, and just repeat what has been done before that has been proven to work. So we've got a 36-month trial period, and then corporations go in for your securities you've abandoned. After 90 days, an affidavit becomes accounts receivable, so under Title 15 it becomes a security. Sui juris, never pro se. Pro se is garbage, okay, so we want to always be coming in as sui juris. FINS number with the DTCC, an international securities number, will be going on your private checks. Okay, that's later on. What replaces you as surety is a surety bond. That's what they want in court, is surety bonds. They want to see whether you know how to administer your estate. Okay, you can have all the titles and paperwork done, but if you do not know the procedure to execute your trust, you're just creating belligerent controversy. Okay, this is why once we get this package done, we're going to go through learning about how to properly manage your trust and estate. Okay, once all these things are set up. 2-mail system, postal route mail system. This is in the United States. Read through that in your own time. Switzerland is the banks, postal union, Bank of International Settlements. They're all there. America, you obviously got the UPU there as well. Obviously, America is the military arm. New World Order is the post office, as we know, because that's what makes these corporations speak. It's what forms these treaties and trusts, money orders and everything, banks, the whole infrastructure. That's why being the Postmaster General is probably the most powerful title on the planet. Always write in your letters that this letter and my intentions are in good faith. Only use the sovereign words unless involved with International Sovereign Immunities Act, okay, passports, travel. Say you're at the bank and you open an account with them and you send them a check for a special deposit, you've created a trust relationship with them. They are the trustee, and once you send it to them, now they owe you performance, or they'll have to send it back to you and give you reason why they couldn't deposit it. Or if they don't give you a reason, then they are conspiring your right to contract. It's all about knowing how to get them to perform to the res, the trust property. So your promissory notes, when you're going for houses and mortgages, that's the res, that's the trust property. When you're in court and you don't post a surety bond, your body's the res. Okay, you are the trust property, you are the property. This is why we have human resources. That's why if you are not using your head, you are treated as a piece of chattel, and you are branded as such. Income, there is no income to ever report because there is no gold or silver, there is no money. Everything is master-slave relationship. You either administer your estate or someone else administers it for you. This system is old as Babylon. Okay, the real party of interest is the IMF, and they're just official agent that acts on behalf of the Crown, which then acts on behalf of the Vatican Treasury. When you liquidate your estate, okay, you are civilly dead. So when anyone is trying to administer your estate, you just send them your IRS stamp 82, send them your liquidation form, UCC-1 a security agreement, a certified copy of death certificate with cover letter saying, hey, this guy's dead. Bill of exchange, section 41, subsection 2A. What do you guys want to do? He died. You'll be exempt. This is another remedy. So simple. You can just get this done in your domestic court system wherever you are around the world. Affidavit of death, get the necessary procedures, go through probate, have a living will set up, get them to bequest everything into you, the living name being as secured party creditor and see what happens. And then that way you can divert being taxed from cradle to grave, and all these presentments can be excused under the Bills of Exchange Act 1882, section 41 subsection 2a. And that's international. Bills of Exchange Act 1882, that goes way back. That's what all these laws in England, in America, are all based off English laws. That's why they never want their slaves to read. Okay, because once you become enlightened, you don't need a master. You don't need a master, you're not a slave. That's why all the solutions and remedies are in books, but in this day and age, we're drowning in information but lacking wisdom because people are not reading books. The wisdom is still in these trees, in these papers. Okay, they're not, yes, okay, you're going to find some stuff online, but the true wisdom is in these books. QSIPs, okay, so they consider your number without the dashes, your auto trust number. We're going to get into all this more advanced stuff later on in the journey. QSIPs are just bank registry numbers that attach your collateral to debts so that they can be securitized and traded. They are the equivalent of, yes, you got it, barcodes on products. What you're more likely looking for is the corresponding auto trust number, which attaches you to your credits earned. But remember, they aren't your credits until and unless you claim the person. And that's done through the UCC-1 security interest filing to become a secured party creditor. An affidavit must be signed and apostilled in order to be a true bill in commerce. Okay, that is arguable. I think you'll find that when you can basically, like I said, become yourself, you self-notarize your documents when you assign the proper stamps and act as postmaster and send it through the postal network as such and register the document. Okay, so but like I said, there's a process in America these guys follow, but I guarantee if you can do it, you can do it yourself and not need these public agents, because what are you basically saying when you kind of go and do that is that you need their permission to validate that document and say that you are that signatory. So again, it's kind of giving your power away from you to be able to say, yeah, I signed that document, I stand on my own 2 feet, I know who I am, God is my witness, so it'll still be respected. The collection aspect is based in international commerce that has existed for more than 6,000 years. Again, this is based on Jewish law and the Jewish grace period, which is in units of 3 days, 3 weeks, 3 months. This is why you get 90-day letters from the IRS. That's why it takes 90 days for the bonds we deposit to cure. Cage code is dealing with securities. Apparently this is needed when using GSA bonds in court. DTCC, Depository Trust and Clearing Corporation. This is all just to help, see these terms into your head, your psyche, introduce you all to it. DF11 form for passport, strike off the terms and conditions, double negative on the forms. Okay, I won't go through that really. Under the Federal Reserve Act of 1913, banks and associations of federal government agencies and the US Secretary of Treasury is holding our original signed bonds, check deposit, written checks, credit card receipts and obligations of the US as collateral. Therefore, the exchange security interest is taxable federal withholding to be filed as gross income. Security interest is the exchange of collateral securities by the Charter 1 RBS Citizen Banking Association via Federal Reserve Banks to be deposit with the Secretary of Treasury and Trust. Your trade name is a vessel when it was damaged, injured, when they dishonor your counterclaims, get them in default. Your original title is your landmark. That's what has your footprints on it. That is held at the Vatican in your capital. Your certificate of live birth and birth certificates are just receipts. Okay, there is no income to report because there's no money. Stop listening to gatekeepers. Anyone who's otherwise not teaching UCC like this is a gatekeeper, I'm sorry. I can name names, there's many of them out there, I went through them all. Yes, grateful for them because they do reveal parts of the process and levels of knowledge that is worth knowing. However, it's not going to get you, the full remedy. Unfortunately, these guys are probably, whether they're doing it voluntarily, a lot of them probably not. They're just kind of trapped in the same wheel of other guys who are otherwise are doing it voluntarily and know what they're doing because they're paid to do it and to convolute the truth and to cap people off and keep people from finding the remedy. So once you're married, this is getting into what I mentioned before. It's quite interesting. Once you're married, the men are supposed to administrate the estate. Okay, it's the executor. The women have a femsole capacity. That's why the mother's maiden name is on the birth certificate. She had a child as an unmarried woman until the man comes and claims his 9-month maturity security. That was the maturation security for the child. The baby's abandoned because the man hasn't come to claim his beneficial interest in that 9-month maturity of deposit of his special DNA. So the woman has a femsole capacity. It's a trust relationship with the man's private special DNA, specially deposited in the genital vessel for a 9-month maturation, and 9 months makes it a security. So the man's the issuer and beneficiary of that special trust, and the woman is the trustee. The man doesn't claim his beneficial interest, and it escates to the states. Look at that word, guys. Escates to the states and becomes the parent. So the woman has the deliverance in her femsole capacity, and that's why the maiden name's on the birth certificate. Okay, the state/government becomes the father, and you were born a bastard. That's what I mean. The men, we really need to wake up and stop this shit from happening. They're mocking us. They're mocking us, and it's no more. It's not happening. Not in my lifetime, anyway. Not from this point forward. Femsole, normal in French, meaning single woman, referred to a woman who had never been married or who was divorced or widowed, or to a woman whose legal subordination to her husband had been invalidated by trust. Okay, prenuptial agreement or judicial decision. All right, as it says, only the devil hides his intent. We know. Like I said, Script D, got that folder for you guys. You can look at all these other documents. DTCC stands for Depository Trust Clearing Corporation. Okay, New York is HQ. New Babylon is where all your funds go. Trillions of dollars a day go through the DTCC. Okay, it's where all the birth certificates go through. So you get your FINS number at the DTCC, which allows you to start writing securities. The DTCC's financial industry number standard FINS form. Okay, that's what it stands for. But we don't have to worry about that yet. That's the more advanced aspects of this. Once the package is sent in, we can start focus on decoding and studying all this stuff. Open up these brokerage accounts and start accessing these securities, getting these numbers, okay, and actually start going through these gatekeepers, these pass-through entities in order to get what is rightfully ours. How to open up and secure a bank account. Write UCC-1 security agreement, taking an 8832 and a standard form 181, your 98 number, W8 death certificate, letter testamentary, and then executive letter. All you're doing is taking control of everything and collapsing the trust for their non-performance. Don't start using your suite address until you have dissolved your estate. Assign the note to the United States Treasury because they are meant to pay all our bills. Title 31, Section 3123, and they are obligated. Obligation comes from Title 18, USC Section 8. Okay, you assign to, I think now it's Francisca Perez, okay, in Puerto Rico if you're international. Okay, so it's Francisco Perez, who is the Secretary of the Treasury in Puerto Rico. All business is done in the mail. Reason why we are registering these notes and putting a maritime lien on it, as it makes them negotiable. Okay, the assignment will always be with the Treasury or the CFO of the bank. Either way, they are responsible to pay on it. The promissory notes he is sending is to the Treasury as they are obligated to pay your debt, which is Title 31 USC 3123. The US is obligated to discharge all debt dollar for dollar. So when we go into secure transactions, you will break down and see what he's doing in order to go and get a bill of sale, going through the whole procedure of turning that bill of sale then into, or that purchase agreement into a security, lodging that in the UCC-1, assigning it to the Treasury, fill out the necessary forms with the 1099As, okay, and the 1099 OIDs and the 8281 that goes with it, and the 1041, 1041V, and then writing your check, negative check, and then once that is all lodged, you then should get a letter back as he shows, CCing from the CFO of the dealership, if it's a car you're going to get, with the Treasury, Secretary of the Treasury, basically ordering you to terminate the lien, but you only do that once you go and pick up your properties. It's basically them saying that, hey, the funds have been transferred, the property has been paid. You can then pick it up once you terminate the lien, because the whole commercial agreement has been honoured and processed, okay, accepted and transacted, so you can claim your property. So that's, yeah, after we get the pack through, once your 90 days have gone through and your bonds have cured, that's when you can start doing these procedures, okay, which is quite exciting. So I can't wait to test out with you guys and share these successes of acquiring these bits of property through these methods. So inside the, here we go, where are we? See, you guys are creating negotiable instruments and sending them out, but you are not claiming them back or not putting liens on them. So they are alive, but just sitting there waiting to be claimed. That's why with banks, they have a 36-month trial period. They wait 3 years for you to claim your abandoned securities, okay? If they say there is a debt, there must be a credit, and I'm the creditor. Cain and Abel in the Strawman allegory, kill off your strawman after death and come to life through the courts administering your own estate as a gentleman. Inside the post office, apparently the cops have no jurisdiction. That's where it's Interpol. It's quite interesting. 31 US Code, subsection 5312, subsection C, a private banker, it's basically saying we're all private bankers, filed a silver surety bond with 21 prior 1933 silver coin to show you are solvent. Everyone's supposed to walk around with 3 pieces of silver in their pocket, right? And this is Winston Stroud. So I'll probably get into this later on, and look into this whole silver bond thing that these guys are getting up to. 1 cent of real silver or gold or real money discharges $1 million in their fictional world. Okay, that's how powerful gold and silver is of substance. Purify your body, purify your bank account. Debt and sin means the same thing. They separated your spirit from your body. When you come in as a man or woman, you're just considered breeding stock. That's everything is Department of Agriculture. That's why everything is Department of Agriculture. Fiance, okay, is the excrement of a fox and other vermin reported on by foresters. This is where a fine and affidavit is considered excrement coming from you in the forest. You're dead, they're dead, they don't hear or consider anything, let the dead bury the dead. Okay, become the master of your own house with your seal, which equals your thumbprint. Once you give them notice to bill you in your first and middle name, they can't bill you anymore. So this is the reason why he uses claimants rather than affidavits, because he's realized the document he read that affidavit means fine, which is fox excrement, where you're considered just, forest animals, excrement from the forest. Okay, so yeah, we kind of stay away from using affidavit, which is quite interesting. So we're using the term claimant instead. Okay, which again grammatically is probably a much better word, given Dave Wimmer's knowledge of the quantum grammar. I think it's quite a clean word, claimant, in that regard. There's no, it is a clean word, claimant. So there we go, kind of ticks all the boxes when we consider fox excrement, which is always a plus. 82 estate, along with your executor letter and forgiveness paper and W8 Ben, will put them in the trustee role, and there will be a breach of trust, and now you can assess crimes, war crimes, and now they can become felons. That's if you get them in a breach of trust. They're not performing on what you're requesting of them to perform on. It's all equity and rem. The Bible is just trust banking. Everything has been going to the state is your father. That's how they consider it. You're the chief executive officer, lien creditor, entitlement holder, you're the boss. And when you record it, make your declaration. There is nothing they can say to rebut it. The only thing they can do to try and work around it is changing little letters in your name to see if you didn't catch it and see if they can get you to answer to that fiction. All this is showing that you are alive, and because you're alive, you reap benefits and privileges, and you're a king. Do you know what the king's court is? Okay, the king's court is a 12-mile radius around your temple. The temple is the house. You're the temple that was built without hammer and nail. God's temple. Okay, John 10:34, you are God's. So important to know. Come back into a power. I know all you guys here on this journey, you know that already, but it's good to enforce it. We'll be able to enforce it now with this kind of knowledge, peaceably but effectively, and actually get results. Birth certificate is the bill of lading. When you get a mortgage, you're dead on arrival. Already you've left your securities abandoned. You have to deal with secure transactions. Okay, medallion stamp makes it legal tender. Signature guarantee, sign of nature. If the man isn't administering the estate is. The only thing they loan is your name. They only get a transaction fee for breaking you down, breaking your money down. That's why you have brokers, because they are broke. They take your security and break your security down, and you get a dividend payout because you're the dividend. Yeah, your energy is the dividend, and that stuff is unlimited. You are the banking merchant, you are the drawer, you are the maker, you are the issuer, grantor, donor, executor, and heir. That's your titles, amongst many others. So the merchant will be the drawer of the draft because he uses the instrument to draw upon the debt he was owed by the buyer. The buyer consequently will be known as the drawee. The banks are the drawees. They're buying your signature, they're buying your promissory note that you loan them. The third person who received the draft and satisfaction of the merchant's debt would be the payee. Okay, so all this stuff, all this terminology of drawee, drawer, payee, payer. Okay, so all in the Bill of Exchange Act, it's all codified in the UCC articles, which is, you know, something again that we're going to have to break down eventually when going through this study and becoming our own private bankers and administering our estate, which just by virtue of repetition and fulfilling this role, we will come to know and be experts in. Okay, so like I said, don't feel overwhelmed for this information that I'm hitting you with this introductory video. It's all necessary to introduce it. A couple of weeks from now, you'll be going back through it again, reading through the notes and be like, oh yeah, I get it. It's second nature. Okay, just be patient with the process. Enjoy the process, enjoy the journey. Note is a two-part instrument. The maker of the note undertakes to pay another payee. Your signature is your property. Okay, Series 7 license holder gives you security, a grading. Okay, accept it for value, always accept it. Claim it on a 1099A to secure the security. They all start off as notes, then they get turned into securities because it gets registered, and that's why you have the Security Exchange Act 1934 after they took the gold out. This made everybody unlimited. Okay, and you got some code there, which basically means payment of obligations and interest on the public debt. Obligation or other security to the United States defined. You guys are all private bankers. Definitions and application. You are a private banker. 31 USC 5312. Then you have the United Nations Convention on International Bills of Exchange and International Promissory Notes. Okay, and just to introduce you guys, you've probably seen a few forms and information floating around surrounding this, which is the WIFIT, Widely Held Fixed Investment Trust. Okay, the IRS deems all human beings with their signature and substantiated signature through their birth certificate, SSN, as fungible, agricultural, commodity producing, non-mortgage, widely held fixed investment trust. Okay, and this WIFIT is used on claims with mortgages and the non-mortgage, widely held fixed investment trust for everything else. Okay, so you see there's a process there utilizing these forms with the WIFIT forms in order to access those securities. All right, that's more advanced. So we've got here the pitot-liter, the process for status correction, things to do. These are my notes. Okay, so all files and templates and instructions, including these notes, are in the Dropbox link, like I showed you guys before. Just a few notes to keep in mind when going through the pack, which you'll pick up. Okay, so you've got the certificate of trust doc, needs your 82 EIN. Notice of absolute forgiveness also needs that. Your indemnity bond needs your UCC-1 filing number. Okay, so you'll see that there's some things that need to be done first in order to fulfill other things once you acquire them and go through the process in order to complete the pack. Okay, so you also need the registered post number for this and 2 sureties. You've got the bill of exchange, needs also your 82 EIN plus registered post number. Your bond cover letter needs the registered mail number too. Okay, it'll be the same as the bill of exchange, and your bond cover letter will be the same as basically the registered mail number for your bond cover letter will be the same as the registered postal mail sticker you'll be using to send the whole pack to the Treasury. Okay, if that makes sense. All right, but then the other ones are going to be numbers you issue yourself. Okay, so all documents also are stamped and signed on the back. You got you can use either $1, but apparently the $1.15 is otherwise international. That's the international rate. Okay, we're keeping it with dollars because again we're using the US as our remedy. The US is the pass-through entity for all securities that are otherwise being created from all these bankrupt nations from our births through the DTCC, as it's stated. So this is the reason why I'm keeping things under the US dollar. Okay, that's the rationale behind that, which I think is pretty self-explanatory. And $1.15, you can get the forever stamps on the mysticstampscompany.com. Okay, or any other stamp agency. Email them if you're not sure, if you can't find the $1.15 stamps, and they will guide you and give you the necessary links, or you can even just create a money order or purchase agreement via email, and they'll sort that out for you. Okay, so I recommend keeping things international because international is where the creditors are, and we want to be coming in under international law and invoking international law. So that's where our remedy is going to be, especially with the courts as well. If we go through the private administrative procedure of default, and seeking redemption that way. Okay, so keep that in mind. Obviously, the way we sign our stamps, you're going to need your 82 or 83 EIN or equivalent. And please note that they do change, the 82 and 83 EINs. I'm going to be sharing this with you guys in the next videos, we're going to break down the EIN, how I filled out the forms, even though you've got copies of this, so you can go away and self-study in your own time. I'm still waiting to hear back at the time we're recording this. My 82 or 83 EIN number with the application I sent in. Okay, so it might take a few weeks. So I'm waiting back on that, fax that in. So as and when I get things back, I'm going to be putting up videos and showing you, then fulfilling the UCC-1, then doing the bonds, and then just have a video on each of these processes in order to break it down for you guys to follow through how exactly things should be done, so you can make sure everything is where it should be and things can be explained clearly, and to offer you the speed steps and obviously save a lot of time in doing the whole process. So it says here also print originals on bonded watermark paper. Okay, so you can get that online quite easily, Amazon or eBay, and make sure you print the original, especially the bonds, on the bonded watermark paper. International stamps, okay, like I said before, $1.15 and $1 can be used, 2-cent stamps on back. Okay, which is explained in the process in the pack. Sign your living name in either red or purple ink. Okay, sign stamps in gold and always thumbprint in red. Using stamp self-notarizes, but can get public notary, up to you. Okay, if you want it apostilled, you will need a notary or get it authenticated before apostille. Up to you. Puerto Rico is international. Okay, you may want to consider CCing the IMF, the Vatican, the Treasury, and your local Treasury, i.e. UK Treasury if you're in the UK, like myself, as I mentioned before. Get a copy of your birth certificate, okay, so that's important. Get gold, red and purple pen and red stamp pad for thumbprint. Best place to start, go through all templates and change your details, read through and edit, add, deduct what you feel is necessary for you. Remember, you as sovereign have the authority to add, deduct, edit anything. You can even make your own versions of these letters. You should fully understand what each and every claim is doing for you and how to enforce it and the reason why. If you do not know the why you are doing what you are doing, pause and keep reading, studying until you understand the why. Okay, that's so important. You can then apply for the estate EIN number, which will be an 82/83. They do change these, so this number will then be used instead of your SSN or national insurance equivalent, but act as a pass-through. Okay, your 98 foreign EIN will then be used to own and control your 82 EIN, and these will both be linked to trusts. Okay, so once everything is established, we can start focusing on the trusts. Okay, actually having the forms there to establish this entity. Okay, and then obviously going through the proper procedures of what is needed in order to manage that effectively. This is, like I said, it's going to be the ultimate remedy for us, but it's going to be patient with it. So it's going to take some time as we grow into these roles, in terms of knowing how to administer our own estate. Okay, but we're going to do this all together. Like I said, we're on this journey together. I'm going to show you everything that I'm doing with you guys, openly, transparently, and likewise you guys, when we ultimately get to that point, 3 months, 6 months, a year from now, we can start sharing our successes, we can start dealing with one another in private contracts, dealing with gold and silver, we can start changing this world for the better. And it's exciting, it really is. It really is exciting. You're definitely on the right path, we're on the right path. It's got to be patient, and yeah, just keep chipping away. So your social national insurance number will not cease to exist, but you will begin to liquidate its assets held within that state and use as a pass-through via the 82 EIN. Okay, once you have your 82 EIN number or equivalent number, you can autograph your stamps. Start by filing your UCC-1. All right, once you've got security agreement, hold harmless indemnity agreement, etc., all done. Remember, this will be a non-UCC filing, okay, so secret 30-year maritime lien. We only make UCC-1 ag lien filings, which is 5 years when doing bills of exchange with secure transactions. Security agreement, hold harmless indemnity agreement, power of attorney, common law copyright notice will all be referenced in the collateral section. Make sure all of your references used on these documents that have them matched when referenced elsewhere. Okay, follow the same sequence for each one. For example, for mine, I used the abbreviation for the document security agreement as SA, then my date of birth, and then my first, middle, last name, initials, which is AGM, and the last 4 digits of my ITIN. Okay, it can be whatever number you want. You can use whatever number sequence you want. It's only for your records and identifying and referencing documents. You can use your SSN NIN equivalent or just make the number up to you. So it'll look like this. For me, this was my security agreement. Let's get up so you can see what I'm getting on about. see in the footer of the security agreement, all mentioned here in the text, SA 260219897123-AGM. Okay, and you'll see this is consistent with every aspect of this document where it's referenced. There may be other documents too when you go through the templates where you reference also, for instance, the common law copyright document, you reference the hold harmless indemnity agreement. Make sure it's all uniform, stick to the same structure of these references, and you can't go wrong. Okay, and as you can see with the collateral, you're going to have all these mentioned as well. Okay, with the documents, common law copyright, etc., because that's what you're referring to, and that's your reference number on the public records. Okay, when that goes up on the filing for the UCC. Upload the security agreement with the UCC-1 filing. Note when you upload, we'll go through all this anyway when I go through it and break it down. Okay, but I think it's only 4,000 characters. So if your collateral, like my collateral is quite large, I think it's more than 4,000 characters. You're going to have to attach it and upload it as a PDF, separate PDF. Okay, just put it in the collateral box. Please refer to the attached PDF file for the collateral description. Okay. So you upload the SA with the UCC-1 filing. For people in America, there is a legal notice and demand you'll see in the pack and mentioned in the process that you can also go through and change. Okay, but I'm not going to use that. All right, I'm not going to use that. I've read through it. I feel like it's not necessary. Everything else that I've got is more than enough for me to achieve what I want to achieve. Okay, but for those who want to read through that document and maybe alter it and change it for you, you can also upload, I think it's the legal notice and demand with the UCC-1. Okay, it's either that or the copyright, the claimant or public notice, that's right. The claimant or public notice is also going to be uploaded with the UCC-1, but I don't think it's necessary. The most important is obviously your collateral and your security agreement. Okay, once it is filed, print that on bonded watermark paper and assign the stamps. Okay, send in the post with your security agreement to register it to your suite / yourself. Okay. Again, I'll be breaking all this down again in future videos. After that, you can finish your bonds and then file them, sign on a UCC-3 along with your common law copyright. From there, finish getting together the rest of the pack and fill out the necessary IRS forms. Triple check everything. Up to you if you want to make multiple originals to send to Puerto Rico or whoever else, IG, IMF and or Vatican and or your local treasury. If you want to make multiple originals, then you will need more stamps. Also will cost more if you want them notarized and apostilled. However, it is my belief, opinion, and knowing that when stamping and autographing, we are self-notarizing our documents, but do whatever feels best for you. If you do multiple originals, keep one original for your records. Okay, keep them binded in proper paper book form using adhesive glue. You can get this done at any local print company. Okay, make sure to use certified true copy stamps when sending in copies and get those binded in book form too and send into the Treasury. You can then discern who else you wish to notify with your documents at your county level. Follow instructions inside the pack for more direction with this. There is no real hard and fast rule. Do what feels best for you. After the pack is sent into the Treasury in Puerto Rico, it will take 90 days for the bonds to cure and you should receive back your Treasury card. All right, this is the time to focus on trust setup and management and the more advanced aspects of secured transactions, private administrative procedure, private banking and doing your recoupments. Okay, it will then be a process of perfecting your sui juris capacity to administer your own estate. Here are some notes taken from Peter's classes that will help recap important parts to do with each given topic. Okay, note, some things mentioned do change later on in his presentations as he evolved through his journey. Stick to the latest with what's in the pack and what I cover in the presentation to save confusion, or go through his classes yourself. All right, you've got the link there. I'll post that down below, the playlist. I've put a timestamp index at the end of this PDF as well. As I showed you earlier, remember? You can see here, breaking down where certain subjects are covered in what videos, okay? For your benefit. I'll put a timestamp index at the end of this PDF that will help you navigate to certain topics covered in these videos. If you wish to refer to them, I've also uploaded a folder with all the script documents he mentioned throughout his presentations, or at least the ones I could download Some you can't download for your convenience and extra studies. Once this pack is done and sent out, I also recommend reading the redemption manual, as this will help introduce the next steps when filing and putting liens against property you acquire in the UCC, as well as how to go about the private administrative procedure yourself. Like Pito, Gene, Patrick have all said, the answers and remedies have always been out there, they've just been hidden in books, but seldom for you find them because people don't read anymore. So enjoy the process, take your time and don't rush, be patient and disciplined. And this would be short-term pain for eternal gains. This is the ascension path for a lot of us individuals. Jupiter Ascending, remember that movie? She comes to claim back her title. It's all part of the ascension process. Okay, so you guys on the path, give yourself a pat on the back. Then once you fulfill and become the change you wish to see and have proven these methods work and bought a mansion and cars and boats doing these procedures, then other people start paying attention and things are going to change pretty rapidly and word will get out and you can end up becoming a teacher and teaching others who are interested to learn the way of being a creditor, coming back to life, administering your own estate, getting back what's rightfully yours, the credits, the wealth that God bestowed to you in this last will and testament. So let's just go finish this off. The next few pages, just going to break down the process again and then go away, go through the templates, read through these notes again, read through the redemption manual, and we'll see you in the next videos where we start breaking down the actual filing, the bonds, the templates. Again, just follow through what I've done, and so you can I'll show you scan stuff of how I've done everything, so you guys know exactly how to go about doing all this. So, and this is again, take things with a pinch of salt. Things will build on itself. Certain things are mentioned which are later kind of changed, but I'll try and do my best to comment on these things as they come up. But once the birth certificate is authenticated, can you make an affidavit of ownership? It's my opinion, you don't need to authenticate your birth certificate. Okay, you just follow the acceptance for value. That's it. It's fine. Done. Dusted. All right. But that's just my opinion. Main reason why you are authenticating the birth certificate, the end game, you're going to lodge all your securities, which will be your birth certificate, certificate of live birth, landmark title, which is your original title with DC, which DC has, or what regional archbishop has. What you do is have a security broker open up an account at Fidelity, Chase, Wells Fargo, Merrill Lynch, wherever. You get a security broker and meet a wealth manager. In the end game, once everything is authenticated and secured, trust set up, 100 billion BC order, indemnified for $100 billion, which will be your insurance, international bill of exchange, and you want your trust charged. So when you're going out there and creating contracts, documents of title, and doing secure transactions, special deposits, etc., wire transfers, letters of credit, the end game is that you will get a dividend payout on 100 million. Okay, and this is normally, when you post a $100 billion bond, you charge that up. It's technically what you got access to, but the amount of the dividend will be around the value of 100 million. Okay, people call it the Treasury card, and it's real. People have got them. Gene Keaton has got one. Banks all have unlimited credit. Affidavit of ownership will make you the entitlement holder of your security interest, and you'll be the lien holder through the UCC. So that means you'll have the highest security interest and highest lien. You control that estate. You're holder in due course. You're the beneficiary of the estate. You're the entitlement holder, grantor, etc. So what it means about secured bank accounts, you'll be getting an 82 EIN, right, which is an estate number, and you're going to want a foreign estate number, not a foreign grantor's trust, but a foreign estate number, which is a 98 as well, and you want to be the executor and set it up for Treasury banking. Order the process, your security agreement goes first, then UCC-1. After all of your birth certificates are authenticated, you do a common law copyright, hold harmless indemnity agreement, affidavit reservation of rights, affidavit secured by the creditor, affidavit of foreign status, affidavit tax exempt status, peaceful inhabitants. Then you create your bond for 100 billion and your international bill of exchange, your cover letters. Then you register the bonds on the UCC-3 with your registered mail numbers, sign it to Francisco Perez, who's now in charge, and send everything into Puerto Rico, because once you send it to Puerto Rico, IRS, that will make you international. Trustee's job is to protect the trust. Two trusts that are being established, foreign estate trust and foreign grantor trust. Okay, foreign grantor trust, you're the trustee. Foreign estate trust, you're the executor and set up for Treasury banking. That might be incorrect, I'm not too sure yet, but we'll break this down when we get into the trust management, so you don't have to worry about this process yet with the proper roles. But one of the trusts you're obviously assigning Francisco Perez as the fiduciary trustee and you're the executive beneficiary, then I think the estate or the other trust you're basically the executive trustee of. Okay, and so there's going to have to be some more clarity surrounding that, which by the time we put these video presentations, we'll make sure we lock that in so we understand properly, especially when it comes to our trust management and knowing how to, go through following the proper procedures that's being seen in the eyes of the law through procedure, substance over form, behaviour must match our assertions to be, operating the trust effectively and efficiently without commingling or having any breach of trust whatsoever. Okay, or operating fraudulently in whatever manner and make sure we're tickety-boo, watertight and doing things by the book, literally. So keep your private name in red ink, all caps name in blue, sign your private name in red ink and sign your Strawman name in blue ink. Okay, I mean you can also use purple. I use purple in the templates and you see a lot of other people using purple too. Purple is royalty. So feel into it, do whatever you wish. Again, at the end of the day, you can do whatever you want. You're the sovereign. This is just what he's done. This is what I'm doing in purple ink. When you're signing, use Strawman, use blue ink, but you can otherwise just type it out on the computer and have that as a signature as part of the UCC code. Okay, and accept that as such, and then just do your living signature, last name, first name, middle, as you'll see, or change. I've changed my signature as a result of this new information and this process that we're going through. Okay, so you might feel that you want to do the same. It's up to you. It's totally up to you. You are the sovereign, you have all the power. He uses the private name in all caps this way. So, last name, first, middle, because in their system, the lowercase name doesn't show up anywhere and won't recognize it. Not a big deal if you have lowercase name, as long as you have it defined in your security agreement, the difference between the two parties. Footnotes he uses, okay, we've gone through that. Copyright, your name, make it a public notice, publish it in the local newspaper. In the legal, you don't have to do this. Again, as stated in the redemption manual, it is not necessary. Okay, it is not necessary to do, as stated in the redemption manual, which we went through in the notes. Okay, so put estate on all the debtor stuff, so there is no guesswork. We are claiming it as an estate. Okay, he otherwise uses the trust, so you'll see we'll be signing as trust. So just use a trust, follow the templates. Okay, like I said, there's a few things that he says that kind of contradicts the templates, but just go through what you see in the templates and that's fine. Okay, just follow the templates. Collateral section of the agreement, everything is being put up as collateral in the country you are in, so you are putting a security interest in for everything. Everything is prepaid. That's how corporations bill. Everything prepaid. They take your SSN, they take your estate information when you apply for a job, and they use your unified and gift estate tax credit that we all have, an IRS publication 950. And after having a conversation with Gene, we have 5.5 million on one side, and on the gift and estate side, we have another 5.5 million. So you have $11 million to claim each year. Sean's in a group with guys who get that. Okay, once you have the birth certificate authenticated and your 98 estate EIN, you can go to the bank and open up a brokerage account and hire a wealth manager, a security broker, and we can begin to dissolve and liquidate your estate into your 98. So you're going to take your social security number to your trust and you get a treasury card. It's white or green. Okay, this is more, once you've got the package sent in, we can start focusing on getting this done. You want to authenticate your set-off bond, promissory note, indemnity bond, and security agreement. File your UCC in New York. That's what he recommends. You can also do Washington DC, which is international too. It is the new Babylon. Then make a public notice in your Secretary of State and then your county. As it says in the redemption manual, there's no need to notify your county. Okay, it's up to you. It's up to you though. So it's on the public record. Just notify us and when you need to use it with those parties that you're dealing with. Power of attorney document, but I think you will be put on a whitelist or non-detained list if you do notify the correct agency, so you might as well send it out, see what happens, put them on notice as always within the system and say, hey look, we've got a public notice out, it's international, check the UCC filing, here it is, here's my pack, here's my other claims that I'm making. So like with what we've done before with the rudimentary declarations we've sent in, we've seen proof, I've seen proof that it is respected, okay, and honoured, your claims that are made that otherwise aren't rebutted. It's an unrebutted affidavit or claimant or declaration is the truth in commerce and stands as law in commerce, okay, to assert your claims and will be respected. So our power of attorney document goes with the IRS form 2848, don't have to worry about this. Legal notice of demand document, going to have 3 registered mail numbers. Okay, we'll go through this later, there's no issue. The reason why you get a registered mail number is because this is how you make private funds public. Anything you register becomes a security. Okay, Title 15, second reg number for international bill of exchange, and third is going to be your indemnity bond. We'll go through this later and we'll go through the bonds, which is your insurance, okay, which insures you. This is important. So if you want health insurance, car insurance, medical insurance, you reference these bonds. The main registered number is going on the Treasury pack on the outside to send it. This is also going to go to the Secretary of State as a public notice. Attachment A is otherwise blank compared to so don't worry about that. It takes 90 days to cure when sending in these bonds with the Treasury pack. Once the bonds are cured, you know you got a green card from the Treasury and his accounts were open. It took him another year or 2 to learn banking. Won't take us that long because it's all there. The speed steps are given, okay. But I'd probably say the trust management side of things probably take anywhere between 2 to 4 months to master and know exactly what we're doing there. Probably less, and then after that, the private banking side of things with the recruitment process, secure transactions, all within 6 months. I think we'll be able to smash this out, to be honest, and master. And then obviously over that, it's just a process of refinement, learning more about the law, these hidden tricks and traps, and just accreting and just coming into these answers and these speed steps, which they are out there. There'll be processes that we'll be coming into once everything, the foundation is laid, that will be invited in, so to speak, and start mingling with kings and priests and fellow queens and members of the private fraternities and people who know how to administer their own estates and tap into this wealth resource, right, and start becoming creditors, donors, creators, helping to fund community projects, businesses, unlocking your talent, bringing forth your talent to the world, right? This is it. It's the keys to the kingdom for us to be able to do that. So first initial filing the UCC, you get a certified copy from the SOS, put a $1 stamp on it, you sign it, then boom, now you got a lien on your estate. It's a note, it's a private contract, but you're going to make a public notice to a few important people. Let them know that you're not lost at sea anymore. You've come to claim what is rightfully yours, you're an heir, you're a successor. The lodging of your birth certificate is wrong, your affidavit's don't pay attention. W8 Ben makes you beneficiary, goes through the Treasury pack, we'll go through that. When you're filing your 98 EIN, okay, the estate EIN, they want your death certificate because they want everything collapsed and dissolved, and that's when you become the authorised representative and you are controlling all the res. I believe this, when you need evidence of this entity being dead, because when you see the Form 56, you're claiming your social security number or national insurance number as the decedent's SSN, and you're coming in as the personal representative, so that entity that as a trust would then be used with you being the personal representative and the executor of your strawman that you're declaring dead through that Form 56. And so what you need to back that up when you go to open up a bank account is an affidavit of death and a certificate from the coroner's office, potentially. This is something obviously we're going to have to go through and check in order to open up that account with that association with the 82, okay, which will then allow us to be able to open up these brokerage accounts, start accessing our securities via our 82, okay, which will be our foreign estate trust. And then we have a foreign grantor trust where we're executing and holding within that trust the foreign estate trust, okay, where we're using that to then navigate as our new social security number. But the social security number or national insurance number will never cease to exist. It's otherwise just being dissolved and still acting as a pass-through account, but it's dissolved into the 82. So this is why you never have to use your national insurance number or social security number again. You operate strictly from an 82 perspective. And an 82 is otherwise an employer, is a master within this master-slave system, so you'll be again recognized as a creditor. This is what directs the stock, the chattel, in order to go to work, and the resources, the human resources, okay, and or otherwise all the other resources in property and res that is assigned to your very life force and name and signature and all these securities. So change your address of where you were born to your PO box, which is a suite at Vital Statistics. So this is what they're doing as well. So the register has the suite address for your Strawman. So suite is what makes everything international. Okay, reason being is that your birth certificate is considered abandoned, so was registered at the hospital of your birth. Okay, so they're actually going in and changing their suite number and assigning that to the Vital Statistics. So if there's any correspondence with Securities or any other notifications that are sent privately without you being aware of, will be directed right to your estate suite number. Okay, so you'll be invited in to actually see the correspondences that are happening that otherwise you're not seeing because you are declared dead, and they're administering all this stuff for you. So you have the Securities Trust, then you have your estate within the Securities Trust. So what the W8 is doing and the 82 EIN is putting a claim on the estate within that trust. And then what we are doing is we are creating our own estates. So we're taking our estate and then our 98 foreign grantor trust, putting that estate into the foreign grantor trust that we control, that we are the grantors of. Then you set up your Treasury direct accounts with your 82, get your FINS number and get your medallion stamp, open up an investment account, and that's when you start defaulting people and getting paid off dividends. Go to SOS and get a certificate of default. Have to exhaust your private administrative procedure first. Foreign status document, when you expatriate, you want to do an annulment, you do a form of renunciation of your citizenship with the Admiralty. Everything has to be bounded and binded, which is the uniform binding code. Okay, like I said before, you can go to any printing company and get this done once all the pack is complete, as you see with the image here. Okay, sign in red ink. Only time you sign in gold is over the postage stamp. Gold means royalty, and is what kings sign with. Gold is AU authority, autonomy authority. International stamps, which we've gone through before. Puerto Rico's international. Okay, on the bonds and package. Once the bonds and package has been lodged and cured, you will get your Treasury green card. It usually takes 90 days, and you can then open up a brokerage account, investment account, start defaulting corporations and doing all these extra things. Making them all public trustees. Form 56 will go along with your 82 EIN. And that will be time stamped because showing you are the executor of the estate. You want to be personal representative of the estate, and in your will you want to bequest everything to the secured party. This appointment, so this is basically notes of what you see is otherwise filled out on the form 56, I think it is. It's either that or the 8832. Okay, there's our form 56, there you go, section 8. Okay, but like I said, we'll break all this down and got all the templates there that you'll be able to see this applied. Okay, and see what's going on with the appointment of the different roles in the estates. Okay, form 8832 is a reclassification of the entity, helps IRS become your debt collector. You want to do the Secretary of the State, IRS Commissioner as well, and all the relevant agriculture and Department of Transportation. That's a key one as well, Department of Transport. Okay, so it's worth CCing these guys in as well, wherever you reside domestically. County is most important when making your public notices, etc. Send certified copy of birth certificate and pack, not the original. Some people say original, some people say it's certified true copy. What you must send in original for is the bonds. Okay, the original bonds must be sent to Francisco Perez in Puerto Rico Treasury. Okay, and you might want to do another copy of an original bond. You also might want to put into otherwise the certified true copy pack for the other documents to the Vatican Treasury too. Or again, also the other domestic treasury of wherever you are. So if in America, have one sent to Puerto Rico, CC, certified true copy, Secretary of State, US Treasury. However, you're outside of America, in the UK for instance, do an original bond in US dollars to Puerto Rico, do another bond in your domestic state currency in the UK, deposit it with the pack with the Secretary of the Treasury in the UK, and then you could do another one for the Vatican. And maybe just certified true copy of the US dollars because that is the universal base currency of the world, okay? And just do that at the Vatican. So up to you, feel into it. I'll expand more as I go through my processes and share with you guys what I feel like I'm doing and what I've done, okay, once I get everything put together. So file with New York or Washington DC, printed out. It's all self-explanatory. UCC-3 is the amendment. Sign everything. Yeah. Okay. Redemption manual. Process overview. Okay. We created a trust relationship on the UCC-3 with the Secretary of Treasury in Form 56. Also assigned ourselves as executor to the trust. Then we get our estate EIN, and we'll have your name as the executor. You write your will. You get your death certificate. You go through probate court to get a letter testamentary to say that you are the authorised and personal representative of that estate. You can then open up a brokerage account with your estate number. Then you do your Treasury Direct with your estate number. You get a 98 EIN foreign grantors trust. Put the domestic estate into the foreign trust because that's what they did. They created the Secretary trust. Then they put our foreign estate in the Secretary trust. So you're liquidating that. This is why we're putting in the bonds. We're liquidating the all caps SSN or equivalent, and you'll be going totally private and won't be using that national insurance number SSN anymore. You'll be using your 82 and 98 EIN to open up bank accounts and do all your banking on your bank right with the Treasury. He makes 4 original copies of everything. Makes 1 original for his records, original to send to county, other 2 to the Treasury, and everyone else gets certified true copies of everything. Goes through master process list, death certificate with coroner's seal on it. Alexander A. Bolt goes through this process in his wills, estates and trust PDF, okay, how to go through probate. This is so you can get the letter of testamentary to show you are the authorised rep. Once pack is put together, up to you, get it notarized, stamped, get it bonded. Has to have adhesive on it, so it's an adhesive contract, I said before. Don't have to authenticate your birth certificate, it's up to you. Okay, so all this stuff is pretty self-explanatory. Once you get, so we'll be going through it, guys, so there's no biggie. This is quite interesting here. So the wills, estates and trust by Alexander Bove. Okay, first chapter walks you through the probate process, step by step. Okay, creating your will, start the probate of the estate, notice to heirs or interested parties. We are the heirs and successors, executors and authorised representatives. We are the lien creditor and entitlement holders. 4, appointment of the executor and administrator. 5, finding your estate inventory, which is finding all of your estate assets. Okay, that's always in your name: birth certificate, passport, SSN, driver's license, any defaults you might have, etc. 6 is your payment of claims. It is only within the period that the creditor can make a formal claim against the estate, and state courts are fairly strict on this point. Executors can determine who makes a claim. Everything is bequested. Payment of debts, fees, expenses and taxes. Filing your estate tax returns, that's your 706, 709, 1041. Those are the forms you're going to want to file every year or every 3 years. Whatever you pay out during the year, you get 65% back, okay, because everything is prepaid. Every time you're paying for something, you're being taxed. Okay, so this is the recoupment process. Everybody gets 65% back, whatever is credited from your account throughout the year. Okay. 9, giving the beneficiaries their money, that's us. And then 10, closing the estate, which is form 966. It says up here, death certificate you make after have a death, you need the coroner's seal. Vital statistics has a death division, and that's where the coroner is. Apparently you can't get the estate 98 EIN until you get the death certificate, because it's something we're going to have to try out and see. Okay, but it's fine. This can all happen after we send out the package, because you don't need the 98. You're signing always the stamps would be 82. Okay, so that's something we can crack the code of later on. Treasury Pack 1 copy is a master file for you. This is what PITO does. 1 master file is for the Treasury, 1 master file for the IRS, and another for the Secretary of the State. Keep 1 original file to make copies from. So he has like 4 originals, okay, which is a lot of stamps, a lot of signing, and a lot of notarizing each original pack. So it's up to you if you want to do it that way. Just fill into it, do what you think is best for you. Don't have to do it this way, but this is what he did. And again, this is all just rudimentary information, just helping going through the process. You have in the pack the proper procedure of how to put it together. Okay, the list, which is otherwise, I think in this one, the process and instructions, which you guys, I expect you to go through in your own time. So this is the proper list of how everything should be ordered, okay, as you can see here. I doubt there is really kind of, you probably put them in any order, but it seems to be the most logical, that order that is displayed there. All of your UCCs is a non-UCC unless you have a bit of exchange, which is an ag-lien. As mentioned before, you don't need a notary, just stamp your own stuff and you're good. You terminate finance in the UCC-3. Control H, will help you in Word document to find and replace anything in the document, help speed up the process of getting things changed, but otherwise you can just scroll through, it's pretty easy. It takes 30 days for securities to secure when you lodge them and 90 days for bonds. Everything goes to the Treasury, but when you get access to your master account, that's when you link up your Treasury direct account to the Federal Reserve, to the DTCC. That's when you have full access, and that's when you can start selling your Social Security account. You can't get into the DTCC until you know how to discharge debt, create money, do a recoupment and handle court. Okay, so one step at a time. Only UCC files is non-UCC, as we mentioned before. And then we have it, guys. So it's up to you now to go where you've got all of these documents you have access to in the Dropbox link. Okay, the other sections that otherwise go through is the UCC, which you can see here, UCC notes, which highlights where we're getting our powers from with what it is we're doing. Secured transactions, the process of filing their recoupments, the 1099As, and the proper forms that are needed. Okay, which is, you'll see here, 1041, negative check, 1099A, 1096, OID, 8281. And then when we get into the recoupment, and it goes through mortgages, foreclosures, discharge, there's a lot to it, guys. This is the process to deal with mortgages. Okay, but you must first have your UCC contract trust charged through the set-off bond, and you must be indemnified and have insurance through the indemnity bond, and you must be in that secured party creditor status in full control, first in line, first in time, secured interest entitlement holder for your security agreement of your transmitting utility, that is your debtor Strawman. Okay, it's your access, it's your nexus in order to be able to operate in the field of commerce, in the maritime waters. Okay, so you can see here, there's a hell of a lot more that otherwise isn't bestowed to us because of these so-called gatekeepers, right? These agents. Okay, but then you get into the recoupment process, private administrative process. So these are all notes you guys can go through in your own time. You can see here the true recoupment process. And you've got forms 706, 709, and this is when you start, once you have everything set up, only then will the system respect you because you have all the right entities in place, all the right insurance, charged up your account, and coming in with, as the authority, as the international creditor, the private banker that you are. Okay, so here, 1099A, making a donation to get you 9 million. Then you claim it on the 1099A, 1096, 1099 OID, 8281 has to go with the OID, 706, 1041, Schedule K1. That's how you get your funding every year. But you have to collapse your estate and have your bank account set up, because when you fill out your OID, your social will be the lender, but your recipient will be the 82. Okay, so you've got to have a bank account set up with the 82. So there's a method in this madness. Okay, but we're going to start with just getting the templates together. You've got all the templates here, go through them. As I said before, see everything that's highlighted, change to match your personal information. Get familiar with these forms and what it is they're saying and doing and claiming. Pull up the forms that I've already gone through in the AGM package, okay, and see what I've changed, if anything. I can see here I put in all of this, which is otherwise what we went through in the UPU certificate of identity module, for all the rights that I want to claim, and go through it. And like I said, you've got full license to add, subtract, edit, anything you wish, but please download the documents first and do not edit in the Dropbox link. Okay, download it first and then edit. Keep the original templates for everyone to be untouched and pure and clean. Okay, so there's going to be no confusion, because if you go in here and start editing and changing it as you're coming in here, you can't do that. So you want to download it as a Word file document, okay, and then from there save it onto your hard drive. Then from there go through and start changing all of these documents. Okay, and then you've got, like I said before, the IRS forms. Okay, if you go into AGM package, you've got the IRS forms here, so you can see how I filled out some of these forms with the estate EIN. which I'm waiting to hear back from. I should have possibly put here the ITIN number. Okay, so this is one thing that I would have corrected with trying to get my 82 EIN, is using my ITIN and then putting down my actual social security number equivalent, which here in the UK is the national insurance number, and see what happens. Okay, so at the moment of recording this video, I'm still waiting to hear back. What are we doing it for? Postal, Treasury, banking, etc., etc. But I'm going to go, like I said, I'm going to go through this. Once I get confirmation that I get this back, I'm going to go through and share with you guys. But the templates are here, so feel free, for those of you who want to steam ahead and give this thing a go. You can't get in trouble by finding these documents, right? They're otherwise just going to come back and say, hey, look, try again, or we're not going to issue it because you filled it out the wrong way. So go back to the drawing board, and like I said, once I go through and have confirmation of these processes, I'll share with you guys the next video. I'm waiting on a few things to be delivered, like my international stamps. Okay, I'll be going for the UCC-1 filing once I get that, and a few other things finished off. Go through the bonds, what it is you need to do in order to get that done. So we'll break it all down, get the package complete and properly set up, and then from there we can start focusing on proper trust management. Okay, and going through the whole secured party transaction. Once the 90-day process of these bonds curing has cured and come into effect, we can then start enjoying accessing our account and setting up the more advanced aspects of, getting the bank account set up, the trust established, and going through and making secure transactions, going to the dealership, buying a house, buying a car, and going through this process of recoupment and learning what it is we need to do when filling out these forms with reacquiring these securities that we create, how to use the UCC-3 to assign it, okay, and then go through the whole enchilada of acquiring property this way. Okay, so it's exciting stuff. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this presentation. I know it's a long one, but I think it's necessary in order to introduce your psyche to the process, let it marinate, keep going over it. Repetition is the mother of learning, and get excited, get motivated. This to me is the answer. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everything we've done before, do not disregard it. It's been very important for the process of, redeeming ourselves and claiming our sovereignty. But this is it. This is the advanced journey. This is the final straight. So be patient with yourself. I'll do my best to try and give you the speed steps and explain this clearly, and do all the work that I'm doing with the notes and recommendations and references, and provide all this for you guys as best as I can. And like I said, because ultimately when we come out the other side of this, we're going to be wanting to, because you're going to have to be sureties for each other for the bonds. You're going to have other people who've got other bonds lodged to be your sureties. Okay, so we're going to have to get together as a community. We can start possibly doing business with one another, helping each other out. And then again, once we go through with this ourselves, within a year, 2 years, people are going to start paying attention. You're going to start benefiting from accessing your wealth and administering your estate, coming back into your true power, your true heritage, and be that nexus point, that node, decentralized node of changing the world for the better. Okay, so I'll leave it with that, guys. Thank you so much for your time and your patience and your attention. Go away now, study, repeat. You got the homework, go through the templates, change it, tailor make it to match your situation, your personal information, and look out for the next videos of me breaking down the next steps of the UCC filings, filling out the bonds, the templates, and how to construct and put together this whole package, which we'll then send out, and then we can start focusing on the nitty-gritty, the good stuff, okay, the trust management, and doing our recoupment processes and actually accessing our wealth, okay, and actually having success in this journey, discharging mortgages, debt, foreclosures, dealing with these guys, going after them, getting dividend payouts, accessing this commercial world of securities, and really coming back into our power and mastering the power of the pen. The pen is far mightier than the sword. Okay, and being peaceable, honourable, but intelligent about all these processes. Okay, not acting belligerent. We're coming into our manhood, womanhood, our sovereignty, our nobility, our royalty. Okay, so then, guys, best of luck to you. Study hard, stay safe, and as always, stay sovereign. God bless. All the best. Thank you.